Chapter 1. He couldn't have really been blown to death by you, right? In a private room on the second floor of the White Jade Tower, the young master of the Su family, Su Kuan, had a nervous expression as he and a group of descendants of the nobles of Royal City looked at a young man sprawled on the table. The young man was Wang Kai, the grandson of the Grand Marshal of the Divine Martial Dynasty. He was the 9th generation's sole heir and was extremely doted on by the Grand Marshal. Even though he was not proficient in either the arts or the martial arts, he was skilled in bragging and was one of the people in the current dynasty who could not be offended. But today Wang Kai, the self-proclaimed braggart, had met his match. After just one round, he had been left speechless by the bragging and choked to death on the spot. There were many ways to die if one wanted to, but to be blown to death by bragging was the first time in his life. Congratulations on becoming the first host of the bragging system. Host, it has been detected that you have never practiced any martial arts before. To ensure your safety in this alternate world, the system has specially gifted you an introductory martial arts technique, Ancient Divine King Technique, Part 1. The mechanical voice rang out beside his ear. Wang Kai, who had just received the memories of this body, slowly opened his eyes and raised his head. He looked at the dozen youths surrounding him and blinked. He said calmly, "Let's continue." He's not dead?" Su Kuan was stunned for a moment before he was overjoyed. He had been afraid that something had happened to the darling of the Grand Marshal's residence, and that it would have caused chaos in Royal City. Now that Wang Kai was not dead, all the danger had disappeared. I just said that he called himself the #1 braggart in Royal City. How could he have been blown to death? Lu pursed his lips. He carried a large box that weighed more than 200 kilograms and sat down opposite Wang Kai with a thud. "Young Master Wang, it's your turn now. Please begin," Lu said disdainfully. Wang Kai glanced at him indifferently and couldn't help but cross his legs. He sharpened his fingernails with a knife and said indifferently, "I just entered the dream and discussed the way of bragging with the martial god, so I was delayed for a while. Please don't mind." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully leveling up and reaching the 10th grade martial disciple realm. Schwa. Looking at Fatty Lulu, as well as the surrounding young masters of King City, they were all petrified. When it comes to bragging, if I claim to be second, no one in this world would dare to claim to be first, Wang Kai proudly said. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully reaching the 1st grade martial master realm. Host, Wang profession, martial artist realm, 1st grade martial master cultivation method, Ancient Divine King Technique Part 1 martial skills, none equipment, none bragging points, 2 experience. 01000. Wang Kai looked at the transparent screen that appeared in front of him and calmly used his mind to turn it off. He had already accepted the fact that he had died in a car accident and had successfully transmigrated to another world. However, this bragging system is quite suitable for this bragging god. Wang Kai muttered softly. He stood up and slammed the table. He glanced at them and grinned. Tonight, Ben Shao will go to the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower. Shouldn't you all fulfill your promise? Bastard! Why didn't I think of discussing bragging with the martial god? Damn it, you're lucky. Lu Li's fat body shook as he took out a stack of banknotes from his bosom and slapped it on the table. Hee, no wonder you're the #1 bragging god in Royal City. I'm convinced. Here's my share. Su Kuan took out a stack of banknotes and put it on the table with a smile. After that, more than 10 young masters from the Royal City sighed in unison. They reluctantly took out stacks of banknotes and placed them on the table. After Ben Shao takes down the White Jade Tower's top hostess, Li Ling Xian, tomorrow, I'll bring her to see you all to show your gratitude for your investment." Wang Kai smiled faintly. He wrapped the banknotes on the table with his clothes and walked down the stairs while humming a tune. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience. Bragging points are 1 point. Congratulations to the host for successfully increasing your realm and reaching rank 2 Martial Master." Hearing the notification, Wang Kai was overjoyed. He could both brag and increase his realm. This bragging system was amazing. This bastard, he's too good at bragging. Lu Li's eyelids twitched. Even if the Crown Prince, who was well versed in both civil and martial arts, came here, he would not have the ability to take down Li Lingxian, let alone Wang Kai, who was neither civil nor martial. He won't be able to go to the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower tonight. Su Kuan laughed in a low voice. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Lula looked at him strangely and said, "Although going up to the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower requires 2 million taels of banknotes, the banknotes we just gave him are not only enough, they're even a few 100,000 taels more. Why can't he go up? Everyone, come here and take a look." Su Kuan shrugged and walked confidently to the window. He waved the fan in his hand and pointed at the scene below. He laughed loudly and said, "I'm afraid this kid is in trouble, ha ha." Wang Kai carried the bag full of banknotes and looked at the young men in front of him. His eyes flashed and he said calmly, "What business do you have with me? To be honest with you, young Master Wang, we've been a little tight on money recently, so we're here to—" The leading young man smiled and extended his hand. He looked at the bag in Wang Kai's hand with a playful expression. The meaning of his words was obvious. "Borrow money? Well said, well said. I have 2,300,000 taels of banknotes here. You can take it all." Wang Kai smiled casually and threw the bag to the ground as if he was throwing rubbish. Patter! The bag opened and stacks of banknotes were revealed. The young men were stunned. Young Master Wang, you're not joking, right? These are all for us?" The young man swallowed his saliva and felt that it was unbelievable. "How can it be given? It's borrowed. Do you understand borrowing? Quickly pick it up and use it. Ben Shao won't accompany you." Wang Kai smiled faintly and walked around them with his hands behind his back. He left directly. F***ck, is he crazy? Just because some people came out to borrow money from him, he can just lend it to them? And it's 2 million taels? Lulu was stunned. Su Kuan, who was standing at the side, was also dumbfounded. He did not regain his senses even after Wang Kai's figure disappeared from the crowd. "Cousin, the banknotes are all here." After a while, a few young men carried Wang Kai's bag and came in front of Su Kuan. "I thought that young Master Wang was very powerful. I didn't expect him to be a weakling. Cousin, if he dares to gamble again, I'll definitely borrow it from him again." "Ha!" The young man who led the group laughed loudly. Su Kuan took the bag and looked at the stacks of banknotes. He was speechless for a long time. He only felt that something wasn't right. How could he take it so easily? With Wang Kai's personality, shouldn't he be someone who loved money as much as his life? I think someone might be in trouble." Lulu suddenly grinned and pointed to an alley below. When he looked at Su Kuan again, his expression became extremely playful. Swish! Su Kuan and the others also hurriedly looked over, just in time to see Wang Kai's face with a faint smile. "Brother Su, when the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower opens tonight, remember to return my banknotes." Wang Kai raised his head and shouted. He waved his hand and smiled brightly. Under Su Kuan's dumbfounded gaze, he slowly disappeared from the alley. Simply appearing and disappearing like a ghost. That idiot 2nd generation, when did he become so cunning? Su Kuan's face flushed red as he gritted his teeth in anger. He lowered his head and looked at the bag full of banknotes. He only felt that it was as heavy as a mountain. "Please add it to your collection, please recommend it." Chapter 2. Haha, I've long heard that young Master Wang from the Marshal's residence is good at bragging. Now that I've seen it for myself, you're even better than the rumors say, Wanja said with disdain. Hearing this, Wang Kai shrugged indifferently and said lightly, "What's wrong? Are you scared?" "Scared? Hee, this crown prince can sit here and let you punch and kick me. If you can't hurt me in the slightest after 10 moves, then please get the hell out of the Imperial Advisor's residence," Wanja said disdainfully. "Sit here and let me beat him up?" Wang Kai was stunned and looked at Wanja in surprise. Seeing that Wanja was sitting there like a mountain, he couldn't help but give him a thumbs up and praise. "Young Master Wan, you're really good at bragging." "Ignorant fool." "Buzz." Wanja sneered as a green barrier appeared out of thin air around him. In the blink of an eye, his body was completely covered by the green light. There was not even the slightest gap in between. Battle aura cover. A 9th grade martial master. Wang Kai's pupils shrank. Although he had broken through because of the system and didn't go through the cultivation process of a martial artist, he was still very clear about the martial artist's realms and levels in this world from his memory. Circulating qi to temper one's body made one a martial disciple. Condensing battle aura made one a martial master. If one could condense battle aura to cover one's entire body and form a seamless defensive barrier, one would be at the peak of a martial master. Damn it, if I knew that the Crown Prince was at the peak of a martial master, I would have bragged more before coming here. Wang Kai's face turned ugly. Even if he had broken through to the martial master realm, he was still only a 4th grade martial master. He could condense battle aura, but he was still far from being able to cover his body. More importantly, the strength of their battle auras were not on the same level. Even if he sat there and didn't move, Wang Kai wouldn't be able to break his battle aura cover. "Haha, young Master Wang, it's okay to brag, but if you go overboard, you'll be humiliating yourself," Wanja sneered. "Enough." Suddenly, a clear and cold voice sounded in the hall, causing Wang Kai to raise his eyes and look over. He saw a woman in a long white dress walking over slowly. Her appearance was simply beautiful beyond compare, her figure was exquisite and graceful, and her temperament was even more elegant and extraordinary. Especially her pair of eyes that were filled with wisdom, causing Wang Kai's heart to involuntarily jump violently. The daughter of the Lu family, Lu Yao. Even though he had long known that this woman's appearance was extraordinary in his memory, seeing it with his own eyes now, he was still stunned. "Miss Lu is indeed the most beautiful woman in King City. I'm Wan Zhe, the Crown Prince of the Sky Suppressing King. I'm here to bring the betrothal gifts to the Lu clan." Wanja's eyes flashed as he stood up and cupped his fists politely. Hearing this, Lu Yao smiled faintly and looked at him with her beautiful eyes. She nodded and praised. "Crown Prince Wanja is as extraordinary as the rumors say. You're proficient in both civil and military matters. If there's anyone in the world who can stand shoulder to shoulder with you, I'm afraid only His Highness the Crown Prince can stand shoulder to shoulder with you." "Not at all, not at all. You're too kind, Mississippi." Wanja's face lit up when he heard this, and he quickly waved his hand modestly. "Damn it. They hooked up with each other just like that?" Wang Kai's face darkened. Seeing the two of them talking back and forth, he was extremely angry inside. He immediately snorted disdainfully, 251. "My fiancé said that you can stand shoulder to shoulder with His Highness the Crown Prince, meaning that you're not perfect. I didn't expect you to be so complacent over there and take pride in being able to stand shoulder to shoulder with His Highness the Crown Prince. You're lowering your status. Truly, the ignorant are fearless. Impudent. Although we're engaged, it was set by the older generation. I never agreed to it, so I'm naturally not your fiancé. Young Master Wang, please have some self-respect. If you're so good at bragging, do it outside the Imperial Advisor's residence," Lu Yao said coldly. "Damn it. Isn't the difference in treatment too big?" Wang Kai was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but he still looked calm on the surface. Thinking about it, it wasn't necessary. He had nothing to do with this ghost marriage, and he was only here to save face for the marshal's residence. Was there a need to be so serious? Did you hear that? Bragging god Wang, you can leave now. Wanja sneered. Humph. Is the Imperial Advisor's residence your home? Do you have the final say? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. He turned to Lu Tringshan and said calmly, Family head Lu, regardless of whether the Imperial Advisor's residence and the Suppressing Lord's residence are connected by marriage, Lu Yao is still my fiancé in name. If you want to break the engagement, you'll have to destroy the Marshal's residence. Otherwise, it's impossible. Goodbye. With that, Wang Kai swung his sleeves and was about to leave. However, a green glow flashed by and Wanja blocked his way. Young Master Wang, since you're so aggressive, let's do as we agreed. Let's fight. Wanja said calmly. A green glow appeared on his body, and he stood still with his hands behind his back. You really think I don't dare to kill you? Wang Kai stared at him coldly. Wanja squinted his eyes and said disdainfully, You can't even touch me, how can you kill me? Stop it. Just as Wang Kai was about to make a move, Lu Yao's voice sounded again. She said calmly, The Shenwu Academy's disciple recruitment ceremony is in a month's time. I'm sure Crown Prince Wan will be there. Since you two want to fight, let's fight at the ceremony. Haha, since it's Lady Lu's idea, I won't go against it. Wanja smiled and glanced at Wang Kai with disdain. He then moved aside. Shenwu Academy? Disciple recruitment ceremony? You want me to go to school? You must be dreaming. You can go if you want, but I'm not going. Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. He hated going to school the most, so why would he go to a disciple recruitment ceremony? You're asking for death. Buzz. Suddenly, Wanja raised his palm and activated his battle chi. A green palm print struck towards Wang Kai from behind. Lu Tringshan and Lu Yao frowned, but they didn't say anything to stop it. Instead, they looked at Wang Kai, who still didn't turn around. They were confused. How could he be so indifferent? If he was hit by this palm, he would be severely injured even if he didn't die. Crown Prince. Watch your words. Bang. A palm print flew towards Wanja from the outside, causing him to stumble back a few steps. His face paled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Who is it? Wanja shouted coldly. However, there was no response. It was as if the palm had appeared out of nowhere. Wang Kai stopped in his tracks. Without turning his head, he said, Even though I did not receive your attack today, I will return it in the future. In a month's time, I will see you at the Shenwu Academy's disciple recruitment ceremony. Humph, I hope you won't back out then. No one can save you there. Wanja said coldly. Chapter 3. Outside the Grand Tutor's mansion, Uncle Fu stood indifferently at the entrance. He stared at the betrothal gifts with a cold glint in his eyes. Uncle Fu, thank you for earlier. Wang Kai stepped forward and bowed respectfully. In his memory, this old housekeeper of the Marshal's mansion was unfathomable. Based on the fact that he was able to force Wanja back even before he arrived, it was clear that this was not something a Marshal Master could do. Young Master, you don't have to be so courteous. Since you've already agreed to a duel with the Crown Prince, have you decided to start cultivating? Uncle Fu turned around and looked at him with a smile. Wang Kai grinned when he heard this. He was already a Marshal Master, but since Uncle Fu couldn't see through it, it meant that the bragging system had the ability to hide one's cultivation. It was indeed a good disguise for someone like him who had just arrived in this world. Uncle Fu, don't worry. Even if I start cultivating now, I'll definitely become invincible with my peerless talent. Not to mention that little Wanja, I'll even be able to beat the Crown Prince. Wang Kai said with a serious face. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching Grade 5 Martial Master. Uncle Fu's mouth twitched when he heard this. He blinked his eyes and looked at Wang Kai for a long time before joking, "It seems that young master has really changed. You even dare to brag in front of this old servant now." Uncle Fu, you misunderstood." Wang Kai's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He didn't expect that he couldn't hold back and bragged just like that. Bragging had already become a habit. "Alright, let's go back. The old master might be impatient from waiting." Uncle Fu found it funny. Wang Kai wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and followed behind Uncle Fu respectfully. He didn't know why, but in front of this old man, he felt even more pressure than the old master. Marshal's Mansion, Mansion Hall. "Kai, did you beat up the Crown Prince of the Crown Prince?" The old master sat at the head of the table and looked indifferently at Wang Kai, who was standing with his hands by his side. "No," Wang Kai said. "Then did you capture the little girl from the Imperial Preceptor's residence and marry her?" Old master continued to ask. No. Wang Kai was speechless. He secretly cursed himself for bragging too much. "So you were bragging to me before?" The old man glared at him, his tone full of murderous intent. Feeling the pressure and shadow that had been engraved in his body over the years, Wang Kai only felt powerless and light. He clenched his teeth and braced himself as he shouted, "Old master, please calm down. Grandson will never dare to brag in front of you again. Bastard!" As the 9th generation only son of the marshal's residence, it doesn't matter if you don't practice martial arts or literature. Even if you're just a rich 2nd generation, I can still let you enjoy a lifetime of glory and wealth. However, you call yourself the #1 braggart in Royal City. Do you think that the marshal's residence hasn't lost enough face? The old man scolded angrily. Wang Kai trembled when he heard this. In his memory, he would definitely experience a farce of being punished by the family law every time this happened. But when he thought about the ending every time, he couldn't help but feel relieved. "Please calm down, old master. I'll definitely stop bragging and do more practical things in the future." Wang Kai lowered his head and promised. "How many times have you said this to me? Have you counted it yourself?" The old master was so angry that his beard was blowing and his eyes were glaring. He pointed at Wang Kai for a long time before suddenly shouting, "Men, take this unfilial son down and flog him 100 times. Whoosh! The hall suddenly became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. There was no response from outside for a long time, and no guards came to take him down. The old master and Wang Kai were both stunned. They couldn't help but look at Fu Bo at the same time. Seeing that he didn't seem to have heard anything, the old master and Wang Kai stared at him and were stunned for a moment. "My dear Fu Bo, don't you always come out to save the situation? Why are you so quiet today?" Wang Kai cried out in his heart. He was secretly nervous. Was he unable to avoid the 100 flogs today? Just as Wang Kai was panicking and the old master couldn't hold back his face anymore, Fu Bo finally spoke. "Old master, you've already given this order 327 times. Every time I have to come out to mediate. I really can't do it anymore." Fu Bo said calmly. "Can't do it? Isn't it just asking for mercy? What's so hard about it?" The old master's mouth twitched. He smacked his lips and looked at Wang Kai below. If he really wanted to beat him, there wouldn't be such an awkward situation with no response. He really couldn't bear to do it every time, but what should he do now? He had already given the order. Was he going to revoke it? Then what about his face as a marshal? "Old master, I think the flogging can be delayed." Wang Kai gritted his teeth and said. There was no other way. If Fu Bo didn't come out to plead, then he could only think of a way out for himself. "Why do you want to delay it?" The old master was surprised after hearing this. He looked at him with interest and hoped that he could come up with a good excuse. Wang Kai looked up with a serious expression. He straightened his back and said, "Because I have already agreed to a duel with the Heavenly Suppression Prince. If I were to be injured before the battle and lose the duel, then I won't be the only one losing face. Is there such a thing?" The old master frowned and looked at Fu Bo with an ugly expression. Who in the dynasty didn't know that the young master of the marshal's mansion, Wang Kai, didn't cultivate? Even the Grand Marshal wouldn't be willing to fight him. If he were to have an open duel with the Heavenly Suppression Prince, then just how serious would the consequences be? Old master, I think that since the young master agreed to the duel, it means that he is confident in winning. Fu Bo flatly said. Wang Kai also promised again, "Old master, don't worry. I will definitely beat the Heavenly Suppression Prince to a pulp." "You want to cultivate?" The old master frowned and asked. Wang Kai was taken aback. Why did it feel like the old master didn't want him to cultivate? In his memory, the old master had never forced him to cultivate. On the contrary, he wanted him to focus on literature. At first, he thought that this was because he couldn't control him, so he couldn't compromise. But now, it didn't seem to be the case. "Old master, the young master should choose his own path," Fu Bo suddenly said. The old master's face darkened. He coldly glanced at him. When he looked at Wang Kai again, his expression was extremely complicated. He flatly said, "If that's the case, Kai, you should work hard on your cultivation." Night fell, and King City was once again a different scene. Wang Kai wore a white robe and held a folding fan in his hand. He calmly walked on the Red Lantern and Green Willow Street. Behind him were a few guards from the mansion. Wherever he passed, pedestrians would retreat. "Young master, the third floor of White Jade Tower is open. It costs 2,000,000 silvers to enter." A guard worriedly said. "Haha, don't worry about that. When the time comes, someone will give us the money." Wang Kai calmly smiled and waved his folding fan as he stood in front of the most spectacular tower. A plaque with the words White Jade Tower hung between the pavilions. Inside, there were songs and dances, and the sound of laughter was endless. Compared to the cold silence of the day, it was like a different world. The few guards behind him looked a little uneasy. This place was extremely special. If there wasn't enough money, not to mention the marshal's mansion, even if the crown prince personally came, he would be kicked out. Moreover, no one dared to ask about White Jade Tower's crimes. Even the current Wang Shang did not dare. "What are you looking at? Hurry up and come in." Wang Kai was stunned. He walked into the tower, but found that it was empty behind him. He saw that the few guards were standing still with serious expressions. They said in unison, "Young master, we will guard here. We won't go in to enjoy ourselves." Wang Kai's face darkened. "Did I call you here to enjoy ourselves? I don't have a single person by my side. Wouldn't I lose face as the young master of the marshal's mansion?" "It's fine. Come in. I am friends with the owner of White Jade Tower. Even if I am penniless, I can come in and play freely," Wang Kai calmly said. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching rank 6 Martial Master." The few guards' mouths twitched. Their eyelids twitched as they looked around. Only when they saw that no one heard them, did they secretly let out a sigh of relief. Regarding their young master's habit of bragging wherever he went, they had experienced it countless times. "Young master, we think that it is better to keep watch here. If the old master sends someone here, we can inform you in advance," the few guards firmly said. It wasn't that they didn't want to go in, but they really couldn't. If it was bragging again, the consequences wouldn't be something that could be solved with a fight. They would definitely be beaten, and it would be a situation where they couldn't take revenge. "If that's the case, then you guys stay here and watch. Wang Kai's face darkened as he snorted. He was extremely angry at their lack of confidence in his abilities, so he couldn't be bothered with them. On the first floor of White Jade Tower, the people sitting there were all normal players in the Imperial City. When they saw Wang Kai walk in, they immediately stood up and bowed. Young Master Wang. Wang Kai was already used to this kind of scene in his memory. He lightly nodded and directly went up to the second floor of White Jade Tower. And here, in Wang Kai's eyes, they were all high-class brothel patrons. The Su family's young master, Su Kuan, the Lu family's young master, Lu Lo, the Su family's young master, Su Yi, and the Li family's young master, Li Qingfeng, were all present. The rest were also the descendants of the dynasty's officials. Brother Su, did you bring my banknotes? Wang Kai faintly smiled and directly walked in front of him. His eyes couldn't help but narrow as he glanced at the young man standing beside him. This young man was the one who borrowed banknotes from Wang Kai during the day, Su Kuan's younger cousin, Zhang Ran. 2,300,000 taels, all here. Su Kuan's expression was not good. He spread out the closed package on the table, and the stacks of banknotes were vividly seen. Even the clothes that wrapped the banknotes were Wang Kai's. It was obvious that they hadn't been touched. What about the interest? Wang Kai glanced and nodded. Interest? The moment these words were said, it immediately caused everyone to look at Su Kuan with a playful expression, especially the fatty Lu Lo. At this moment, he was grinning from ear to ear. Chapter 4. Third floor of the White Jade Tower. I didn't expect the third floor to be so ordinary. Wang Kai went up to the third floor and looked at the furnishings around him. He couldn't help but be surprised. There were only 2 tables. Although the floor was covered with a red carpet, there was nothing else. There wasn't even a vase or decoration. There was also no sign of Li Lingxian, the so-called top girl of the White Jade House. Haha, the Crown Prince and Prince Yuan are also here. Oh, isn't this the second prince of the sky-suppressing king? Why isn't your brother here? Don't you always like to follow behind him? Wang Kai looked around and walked towards a table on the left with a playful expression. To Wang Kai, those who could appear on the third floor of the White Jade Tower were all top brothel patrons. Coincidentally, the few people present were also of this level. The current Crown Prince Wan Kong, the grandson of the Prime Minister, Yuan Hao, and the second Prince of the Sky-Suppressing King, Wan Lu. Haha, so it's Wang Kai. Come, sit beside me. Prince Wan Kong raised his eyebrows and glanced at him with interest. He raised his hand and took the initiative to pull out a chair. I didn't expect young Master Kai to be able to reach the third floor of the White Jade Tower. It seems like you won a lot this time? Yuan Hao smiled and greeted Wang Kai, who sat down. Wang Kai smacked his lips and said modestly, "Not much, only a few million. This time, I will definitely take down Li Lingxian." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 8th grade Martial Master realm. After hearing the notification, Wang Kai almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. He was already a grade 8 martial master after bragging a few times. If he were to advance by another grade, then wouldn't the Crown Prince of the Sky-Suppressing Heavenly King, Wan Zhe, be completely defeated? There was also that little girl from the Imperial Advisor's residence, Lu Yao. When the time comes, I will definitely take her back to the Marshal's residence. A few million? Why did I hear that it was only 2 million taels? In my opinion, young Master Wang's ability to brag isn't much, but his ability to lower his head and take money to avoid disaster is extraordinary. Wanlio's second son said disdainfully. As soon as he said that, Crown Prince Wan Kong and Yuan Hao narrowed their eyes and looked at Wang Kai playfully. You dare say that my bragging skills aren't that good? Wang Kai's face darkened and he stared at him gloomily. This sentence was already the most serious provocation to him, a self-proclaimed god. Second Prince Wanlio's face turned cold, and he said with a disdainful look, "Indeed not much." Just when everyone thought that Wang Kai wouldn't be able to hold back his anger, they actually saw him laughing. He pulled his chair closer to Wan Lu and patted him on the shoulder, praising, that's right. Although my bragging ability is number 1 in Royal City, your brother Wang Kai's bragging ability is also not bad. How dare you? How can you compare to my brother's literary skills and military strategy? Does he need to brag like you? Wan Lu said coldly. He raised his hand and slapped Wang Kai's hand to the side. Wang Kai smacked his lips indifferently and said indifferently, "Could it be that your brother isn't bragging? He actually said that he would sit there motionlessly and let me hit him. Everyone, tell me, is this not bragging?" Wan Kong and Yuan Hao looked at each other, and the smile in their eyes deepened. They were very curious. Where did Wang Kai's bragging come from? Was it just because of the marshal's mansion? Humph, not to mention my brother, even I can sit here motionlessly and let you hit me 10 times. Wan Lu said disdainfully. Clap, clap, clap. Wang Kai stood up and clapped his hands. His expression was full of admiration, and he praised, as expected of a family, each bragging louder than the other. Whether I'm bragging or not, you'll know once you try. I'm afraid that you won't be able to hurt me at all, and then you'll smash your own fist. Wan Lu sneered. Hee, let's try it. Second Prince Wan Lu, please use your tortoise barrier. Wang Kai said indifferently. Tortoise barrier? Prince Wan Kong and Yuan Hao couldn't hold back and laughed out loud on the spot. A young man sitting at the other table actually slapped the table loudly. I've long heard that young Master Wang Kai is the number 1 braggart in Monarch City. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, you're indeed worthy of that title. The young man laughed. Wang Kai was stunned when he heard that. He turned his head and couldn't help but take a deep breath. He raised his thumb and praised, "So it's the 9th Prince of the Great Rock King, Little Rock King. Ben Shao sees that you're extraordinary and much stronger than Prince Wanzhou. More importantly, you're very discerning." You flatter me. Rock Nine's face stiffened and he cupped his fist in response. He lowered his head again and didn't say a word. He finally realized that the only son of the marshal's residence could really infuriate people to death with his words. It was clearly a sincere compliment, but Wan Lu said that he was discerning. Bastard! How can a mere bird be mentioned in the same breath as my brother? Wan Lu rebuked angrily. Whoosh! Rock Nine suddenly raised his head. His sharp eyes stared coldly at Wan Lu, and he said in a deep voice, "What did you say just now?" Wan Lu was stunned, and he was a little flustered by Rock Nine's stare. There were only a few people in Monarch City who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the 9th Prince of the Great Rock King. The Crown Prince, Yuan Hao, and his brother Wanzhou could, but Wan Lu was definitely not his opponent. "Alright, Little Rock King, why are you so angry? I didn't mean it, so let's just forget about it." Prince Wan Kong suddenly opened his mouth and laughed. Seeing Rock Nine's cold snort and no longer say anything, Wan Lu secretly sighed in relief. He looked at Wan Kong gratefully, and then coldly stared at Wang Kai. With a look of disdain, he said, "Wang Kai, I'll sit here and let you attack me with 10 moves. If you can't hurt me in the slightest, then get out of the White Jade Tower's 3rd floor." Buzz. Shortly after, a layer of green barrier appeared in front of Wan Lu, and he said indifferently, "You may begin." It didn't cover his whole body, but it condensed a barrier. Middle-level martial master? Seeing this, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and coldly smiled. "Second Prince Wan Lu, don't regret it. It's not that I, Ben Shao, want to boast, but with this punch of mine, even you, the suppressing Heavenly King, will cry for your father and mother." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1000 experience, bragging value 1 point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 9th level Martial Master realm. Bastard. If you can't hurt me in the slightest today, I'll definitely teach you a good lesson. Wan Lu angrily rebuked, his face red with anger. He then stand still. I'm going to beat you up. Wang Kai coldly smiled. Everyone present watched with interest when facing this, and they really wanted to know what sort of state Wang Kai would be in if he was unable to injure Wan Lu. Presumably, even the marshal's old master wouldn't be able to avenge him, right? After all, Wang Kai's words just now had directly insulted the suppressing Heavenly King. Chapter 5. Wang Kai had a playful smile on his face. He clenched his hand into a fist and punched out. Under the watchful eyes of the others, a green light appeared on his arm. Crack! Bang! The defensive barrier formed by battle chi was instantly shattered. However, Wang Kai's fist did not lose its momentum. After breaking the barrier, it still had some strength left. Even Wan Lu, who had a dumbfounded expression, was heavily punched in the chest. The powerful force directly sent Wan Lu's body flying. He was 3 feet above the ground and glided for more than 10 meters before he fell to the ground. His chest had already caved in. His face was as white as paper. He struggled for a while and raised his head with difficulty. He stared at Wang Kai with red eyes. He felt the blood in his body churning, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Impossible! How can you have battle chi? Wan Lu was not the only one who was shocked. Crown Prince Wan Kong, Yuan Hao, and Rock 9, who were watching from the side, all widened their eyes in disbelief. They never thought that Wang Kai, who had never practiced martial arts, would be so powerful. That attack just now. Although it was only a fleeting release of battle chi, the 3 geniuses of Royal City could still see through Wang Kai's true realm in an instant. Level 9 Martial Master. Countless thoughts flashed through their minds, but they could not find any trace of Wang Kai practicing martial arts. Even though the Marshal's mansion had protected Wang Kai, it was impossible for him to hide it from so many big shots in Royal City for a full 15 years. So what was the reason? Could it be that he really started practicing martial arts because of the engagement? And in just one day, he became a level 9 martial master that others would need many years of hard work to reach? It's not that I don't practice martial arts. If I did, would all the martial artists in the world still have food to eat? This reminded them of Wang Kai's boasting once. At that time, they thought it was funny. Now they still thought so. However, the truth was in front of them. Wang Kai had suddenly become a level 9 martial master. Was he boasting? Or was he telling the truth? Nothing is impossible. This young master's life is full of legends. Mortals can't understand it. Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain and walked up to him. He bent down and grabbed him by the collar. Cough, cough, you, what else do you want? Wan Lu's face was filled with terror as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. If the injury on his chest wasn't treated as soon as possible, he would definitely die here. Now that he was captured by Wang Kai, there was only terror in his heart. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at him playfully. He reached out his hand and patted his face. He smiled faintly and said, "You said 10 moves just now. Now it's only 1 move. Naturally, I have to fulfill my promise." Puff! Wan Lu spat out another mouthful of blood when he heard this. As he looked at Wang Kai's mocking appearance and listened to his serious words, he felt his face heat up, and he was too ashamed to show his face. Clearly, Wang Kai shouldn't have been able to break his battle chi barrier even if he used all his strength. In the end, he should have been taught a lesson. But now, it just happened that Wang Kai had broken his barrier with a single punch and even sent him flying. He couldn't even block a single move. This made Wan Lu extremely ashamed and furious. "Brother Wang, let's forget about this matter. Brother Wan Lu is already seriously injured. If this continues, he will die here." Prince Wankong suddenly said with a smile. That's right. Since His Highness the Crown Prince pleaded for mercy, let him go this time. Yuan Hao also echoed. Wang Kai's lips curled up when he heard this. He smiled with an extremely disdainful expression and said, His Highness the Crown Prince really loves his subjects. If I were his subject, I would naturally accept your request. But I'm not your subject. Slap. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai suddenly swung his palm down, slapping Wan Lu so hard that his face turned red. In a fit of anger, Wan Lu's eyes rolled back and he fainted. Wang Kai, don't go too far. Crown Prince Wankong frowned as he shouted coldly. Then, he waved his sleeve and shot out a cyan-sharp blade formed by battle chi at Zhang Tai. Bang! Wang Kai's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly let go of Wan Lu and took a few steps back. He watched as the green blade embedded itself into the floor. As the battle chi disappeared, a blade mark was left on the floor. Battle chi release. Martial General. Haha, I didn't expect His Highness the Crown Prince to have reached the Martial General realm. This is really worthy of celebration, worthy of celebration. Wang Kai regained his smile and casually glanced at Wan Lu on the ground. He said indifferently, There are still 8 moves left. When your injuries are healed, you will naturally get it back. As soon as these words were spoken, it caused Crown Prince Wankong's expression to become slightly unsightly. Everyone present knew that Wan Lu had already fainted, yet Wang Kai just had to say these words. Who was he speaking to? It went without saying. Even if you are the Crown Prince and have reached the Martial General realm, I, Wang Kai, am still not your subject. Letting him go for now doesn't mean that the remaining 8 moves will be forgotten. This matter is not over yet. Brother Rock 9, I wonder if you dare to let me sit here? Wang Kai smiled faintly and walked to the table on the right. As he spoke, he lifted his butt and sat down. The corner of Rock 9's mouth twitched. He glanced at him speechlessly and thought, You've already sat down. What's the point of saying that I don't want you to sit? Brother Yuan, I'll have to trouble you with Wan Lu, Prince Wankong said in a low voice. Yuan Hao nodded slightly and said in a low voice, I'll have to trouble Your Highness the Crown Prince with the matter of Li Lingxian. If you can obtain the support of White Jade Tower, Your Highness the Crown Prince's attack on Tianwu will definitely be successful. Then, Yuan Hao carried the unconscious Wan Lu and left the 3rd floor of White Jade Tower, leaving Crown Prince Wankong alone. He sat there with a cold expression and glanced at Wang Kai from time to time with an inexplicable expression. Haha, rumor has it that the Marshal's Mansion's young Master Kai has never practiced martial arts, but he loves to boast. Lingxian, it's my honor to see young Master Kai use martial arts today. A clear and melodious voice rang out, reverberating in the empty 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower, causing the few people to feel somewhat intoxicated. Just her voice alone was so alluring. What about her? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and stared at the stairs of White Jade Tower. He really wanted to see what kind of woman was worth 2 million taels of silver just to see her. He also wanted to know what kind of appearance this woman had to make all the nobles in Royal City yearn for her. Miss Lingxian, I trust you've been well since we last met. Prince Wankong's voice rang out, causing Wang Kai, who was staring at the stairs, to be stunned. He quickly turned his head and realized that a graceful figure was already standing on the 3rd floor. She was wearing a long purple dress and had a beautiful face and a seductive temperament. 2 strands of purple muslin wrapped around a white jade wall and slowly floated to the ground. Especially between her eyebrows, there was a purple flower petal that made her even more beautiful and enchanting. This woman's beauty was comparable to Lu Yao's, and she had an additional sense of seductiveness. However, how could Wang Kai have the time to appreciate these things right now? He only glanced at her indifferently before looking at the open wooden window. F***ck, so she came in through the window. I had to stare at the stairs for half a day. Chapter 6. Whoosh! The third floor of the White Jade Tower instantly became extremely silent, and the atmosphere seemed somewhat oppressive. What's wrong? Did I say something wrong? Wang Kai was stunned when he saw this. He looked at them with some doubts. They were all greeting each other with smiles on their faces. Why did they suddenly freeze there? Li Lingxian's expression was stiff. Hearing this, she felt even more embarrassed and angry. She really wanted to explain to him that it was not her idea to come in through the window. She had been forced to come in this way because she had no other choice. Wang Kai, watch your words and actions. If Miss Lingxian came up through the stairs, is there still a need for the third floor of the White Jade Tower to exist? Prince Wankong frowned and said coldly. Wang Kai suddenly understood. He slapped his forehead and exclaimed, "Oh, so that's how it is. You're right. If she came up through the stairs, wouldn't the high-class brothel patrons on the second floor of the White Jade Tower also see Miss Lingxian? In that case, wouldn't Bencheo's 2 million taels be wasted? Sorry, I was rude. Please don't take offense, Miss Lingxian." High-class brothel patrons? Once he said this, Li Lingxian, who was the star of the White Jade Tower, became even angrier. A trace of anger appeared on her beautiful face. She never thought that the number one braggart in the royal city would be so rude. Wang Kai, you should leave. This is not a place you should be. I will give you your 2 million taels. Prince Wankong said coldly. You want me to leave? On what basis? You want to send me away with a mere 2 million taels? It's at least 5 million taels. Even your highness, can you afford it? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. 5 million taels? Can't afford it? Little Pring King was stunned. As the crown prince of the divine martial dynasty, he could easily take out 10 million taels, let alone 5 million taels. It was very strange. What was Wang Kai trying to do? Was he asking to be humiliated? Your Highness, there's no need to agree to his unreasonable request because of Lingxian. Lingxian is a prostitute to begin with. She really can't stand your Highness acting like this. Li Lingxian's beautiful eyes flickered and tears actually appeared. Her pitiful appearance made everyone's heart soften. Even Wang Kai couldn't bear to see her like this, let alone the crown prince who came for her. Wankong nodded at Li Lingxian with a smile, then turned to look at Wang Kai with an extremely indifferent expression. 5 million taels it is. I can give you 5 million taels. You can leave now. Wang Kai resisted the pity he felt for Li Lingxian. He gritted his teeth and said, That won't do. Give it to me now. Otherwise, what if you go back on your word in the future? Do you think everyone is like you? Prince Wankong snorted disdainfully. He raised his hand and a ray of light floated out from his thumb ring. Patter! In the blink of an eye, the ray of light turned into stacks of banknotes on the table in front of Wang Kai. Interspatial ring. Wang Kai's eyes lit up as he glanced at it. His heart couldn't help but itch. Being the crown prince was so good. Not only did he have banknotes, but he also had an interspatial ring that could store things. Why didn't he transmigrate and become the crown prince? Can you leave now? Prince Wankong snorted coldly. Patter! Wang Kai counted the banknotes as if he didn't hear anything. He took out 2 million taels worth of banknotes and pushed it to the front of the table. He said indifferently, This is the 2 million taels I paid again. Yes, I'm back. Whoosh! Everyone was stunned when they heard this, especially Little Rock King Ping 9. At this moment, he was already petrified. So this guy did all this just to rob the crown prince. 5 million taels was in his hands just like that. After deducting the 2 million taels he originally used, plus the one he just paid, he earned an additional 3 million taels. This meant that entering the third floor of the White Jade Tower was completely funded by the crown prince. Moreover, he earned 1 million taels more than the banknotes he originally had. Bastard! Do you think the White Jade Tower is your home? You think you can come and go as you please? Prince Wankong's face was extremely gloomy. He never thought that he would be made a fool of by him. Hearing this, Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders indifferently. He stretched out his hand and patted the stack of banknotes, indifferently saying, "What's wrong? I have money and can do whatever I want. You're not satisfied? Even if you're not satisfied, there's nothing you can do. The White Jade Tower isn't owned by your family either." Miss Ling Xian. Prince Wankong was extremely angry. He could only look at Li Ling Xian. At this moment, Li Ling Xian had also just regained her senses. She also didn't expect Wang Kai to have such an idea. Did that mean that she was also used by him just now? Did he deliberately say that in order to rob the Crown Prince? "Your Highness, the Tower Master once said that as long as one has enough banknotes, anyone can enter the third floor freely. Ling Xian really wants him to leave, but the rules set by the Tower Master cannot be broken." Li Ling Xian bowed apologetically. "Haha, did you hear that? Your Highness, please use your brain the next time you go out. Is there anything that would go against banknotes?" Wang Kai laughed loudly. He took out another stack of banknotes and pushed it out as well. He said indifferently, "Take this 100,000 taels as a gift from me to Miss Ling Xian. I'm really sorry for my unintentional words just now." Unintentional words? Li Ling Xian's pretty face froze when she heard that. She glared fiercely at him, gritted her teeth and secretly sneered, "Damn bastard, you think you can get away with a mere 100,000 taels? This young miss will remember this." "Haha, young Master Kai is the only son of the marshal's residence. Ling Xian is a prostitute with no background. How would I dare to say anything bad about young Master Kai?" Li Ling Xian said with a face full of smiles, as if she wasn't the one who was angry just now. However, this smile made Wang Kai feel uncomfortable all over. He felt like a sinister wind was blowing. "Wang Kai, you're very good, very good. This Crown Prince has really broadened my horizons today," Wan Kong said in an icy tone. He coldly glanced at him and sat back down in his chair with an ashen face. Even though he knew that he had been tricked, there was nothing he could do. As the current Crown Prince, he couldn't possibly ask him for the banknotes back, right? Furthermore, due to the marshal's residence, he couldn't punish him. Wan Kong was already extremely depressed. "Haha, you flatter me, you flatter me. To think that I studied literature at the age of 3, practiced martial arts at the age of 4, drew a bow and shot arrows at the age of 5, practiced horse riding at the age of 6, climbed mountains barehanded at the age of 7, and could even drink the Yellow River at the age of 8. Such a small matter doesn't need your Highness to praise me," Wang Kai said with a wide grin. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience and bragging points for 1 point." As soon as these words came out, it immediately caused little Pring King's eyelids to twitch violently. If it wasn't for the face of Wan Kong Crown Prince, he really wanted to give a thumbs up and praise. This bragging is really amazing. Chapter 7. Li Lingxian's beautiful eyes widened, and it took her a while to come back to her senses. She now had a clearer understanding of Wang Kai's bragging skills. She couldn't help but glance at Prince Wan Kong, whose face was becoming increasingly gloomy. Her expression changed, and she quickly smiled and said, "Haha, learning literature at the age of 3 and martial arts at the age of 4. Doesn't that mean that young Master Kai is proficient in both literature and martial arts?" "As for martial arts, I have already seen it. Your Highness the Crown Prince is already a martial general. Although young Master Kai's talent is peerless, he is still only a level 9 martial master. As for martial arts, let's not compete for now. How about we compete for literature?" These words not only implied that Wang Kai's martial arts were inferior to the Crown Prince's, but also resolved the Crown Prince's awkward situation. Immediately, Wan Kong's expression softened slightly. He calmly smiled and nodded, saying, "Then I'll have to trouble Lady Lingxian to come up with a question." Wasn't it just the martial general realm? What was there to be proud of? If he wanted to reach it, wouldn't he just have to brag about a few things? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. Just as he was about to open his mouth to brag, his expression suddenly changed. Only then did he react. Why hadn't he broken through to the next realm after successfully gaining experience from bragging? Thinking of this, he didn't have time to care about how they would come up with a question. From Wang Kai's point of view, the system was the most important. This was his special ability to survive. Immediately, he used his mind to open the system page. Host, Wang Kai Profession, Martial Artist Realm, Level 9 Martial Master Cultivation Method, Ancient Divine King Technique, First Part Martial Skills, None Equipment, None Bragging Points, 11 Experience, 1000100000 inch. It actually requires 10,000 experience to break through to the next realm? Doesn't that mean that I have to brag 9 times before I can reach the martial general realm? After looking at it, Wang Kai finally understood. He couldn't help but smack his lips and use his mind to close the screen. He calmly glanced at Wan Kong, who was shaking his head, and secretly curled his lips, saying, "I'll let this guy brag for a few more days." Good, good, good. Your Highness the Crown Prince's poem can be said to be the best in all of history. Unlike some people who only know how to brag. Li Lingxian's beautiful eyes flashed, and she seemed to inadvertently glance at Wang Kai. She clapped her jade-like hands and cheered. In the end, she even sat at Wan Kong's table and personally poured him a glass of wine. Seeing this, Prince Wan Kong was overjoyed. He secretly thought that his trip to the White Jade Tower this time was a success. He waved his hands, overwhelmed by the favor, and said, "Miss Ling Xian, you flatter me." In the land of Fanzhou, there have been countless scholars since ancient times. As a junior, how could I dare to accept the title of number 1? Haha, Your Highness the Crown Prince is humble and courteous. Ling Xian admires you greatly. However, Ling Xian hasn't been feeling well recently, so I can only use tea in place of wine to propose a toast to Your Highness. Li Ling Xian sighed regretfully. No, no, Miss Spirit Fairy's health is more important, Prince Wan Kong hurriedly said. I say, can you guys stop acting tough? I haven't even recited a poem yet. How can he win already? Wang Kai said disdainfully. At the side, little Pring King immediately nodded heavily. In terms of martial arts, he was the best. However, when it came to literature, he was completely clueless. If his father, the great Pring King, hadn't ordered him to come and befriend the White Jade Tower, he wouldn't have come to the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower at all. Now that he saw that the limelight was stolen by Wan Kong, he naturally hoped that someone would stand out and deal with him. Even if he couldn't win, it would be good to disgust him. And with Wang Kai's personality, in little Pring King's opinion, it was the most suitable. Oh? Young Master Kai also knows how to recite poems? Then let's hear it. Li Lingxian was clearly surprised. She glanced at him indifferently, but she was very curious. What could he recite? Haha, I'm afraid you're just bragging again? Wang Kai, don't say that I didn't warn you. If you can't recite, then you can't. Don't embarrass the marshal's residence, Prince Wan Kong said disdainfully. Wang Kai grinned when he heard that. He thought to himself, I'm proficient in 300 Tang poems. Do you think I can't beat you? He immediately stood up, held the wine cup in his hand, and smiled faintly. It's not that Ben Shao wants to boast, but Miss Spirit Fairy, I can compose a poem in 7 steps. Every sentence is exquisite and extraordinary. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Arrogant and ignorant. Wan Kong said disdainfully. Li Lingxian's beautiful eyes flashed, and she suddenly looked out of the window. The pure white moonlight shone down, illuminating her beautiful face and making it even more enchanting. She smiled gently and said, Then, please recite a poem with the bright moon as the theme, young Master Kai. With the bright moon as the theme? That's easy, easy. Wang Kai nodded faintly. He held the wine cup and walked on foot. His mind was frantically searching for ancient poems from his previous life. When he finished the 7 steps, he happened to arrive in front of the window. His eyes lit up as he said, "Got it." Everyone looked at him when they heard that. They really wanted to know what kind of poem this fellow could recite. A pot of wine among the flowers, drinking alone without any blind dates. I raise my cup to invite the bright moon, and the shadows become 3 people. The moon doesn't drink, and the shadows follow me, temporarily accompanying the moon and the shadows. Pleasure until spring. I sing the wandering moon, I dance in disorder. When we wake up, we enjoy together, but when we're drunk, we part ways. Clap, clap, clap. Good poem. Good poem. It's really the best poem in all of history. Oh no, it should be the best poem in all of history. Just as Wang Kai finished reciting, Li Lingxian was already immersed in the poem. Unexpectedly, little Pring King, who had no understanding of poetry, suddenly stood up and clapped his hands as he praised loudly. He directly pulled her back from the poem. "Lingxian, I really didn't expect young Master Kai to be so talented." Li Lingxian's expression instantly changed. She became extremely beautiful, but everyone present knew that her beauty only bloomed because of Wang Kai alone. I don't know where you copied from. You really have no shame." Prince Wankong snorted disdainfully. As soon as he said that, Li Lingxian also frowned. She was somewhat dissatisfied with Prince Wankong's words. Immediately, she said coldly, "Today, Lingxian chooses to drink alone with young Master Kai. Please go back." If you're so awesome, why don't you copy one for me to see?" Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain, but in his heart, he was already overjoyed. He could not help but secretly curse a certain great poet for using his poem to act pretentious. This poem was really too peerless. It was just right for this situation. He hoped that the senior would not blame him. Prince Wankong frowned when he heard that. He stood up with a cold expression and said indifferently, "Miss Lingxian, I hope you can reconsider that matter." "Yes, I'll pass on this matter to the owner." "Lingxian won't see you out," Li Lingxian said coldly. As Prince Wankong and Little Pung King left one after another, Wang Kai was instantly dumbfounded. No matter what, Wankong was the current crown prince. Even though the White Jade restaurant was extremely special, he couldn't chase them out just because of one sentence. "Young Master Kai, there's something you don't know. Lingxian loves poems the most. The reason why I chased them out was because I wanted to ask young Master Kai who wrote this poem." Li Lingxian's beautiful eyes sparkled, and her beautiful face was filled with anticipation. Wang Kai was speechless when he heard that. "So what if I tell you who wrote it? More importantly, I can't admit it. You already said that you love poems the most. If I tell you that I copied it, won't I be chased out like the crown prince? Then wouldn't I lose all my face?" Thinking of that, Wang Kai calmly smiled and said, "This poem was indeed written by me just now. As for whether Miss Lingxian believes it or not, I don't care. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Chapter 8. Wang Kai. Get down here right now. Whoosh. Wang Kai immediately sat up with a shudder. His eyes were red and he was still sleepy. He angrily shouted, "Who is calling me? Can't you let me sleep?" This is... Wang Kai looked around in a daze. The floor was covered with red carpets, the floor was empty, and the place he was lying on was actually on a table. He lowered his head and saw that his clothes were half open, and a light gauze covered his body. He couldn't help but think of the poem recitation and drinking from the previous night. He suddenly reacted and covered his chest. He exclaimed, "F***ck. I was slept with on a table just like that? He vaguely remembered that after he bragged last night, he attracted the admiration of Li Lingxian, the top hostess of the White Jade restaurant. She begged him to recite a few more poems for her, and after every poem was recited, the two of them would drink a few cups to liven things up. In the end, he couldn't remember clearly anymore. This body's alcohol tolerance is really not that good. I'm a top customer of a brothel, but I was actually drunk by a woman. She even caused me to lose my chastity. What's more hateful is that I didn't feel anything at all. Wang Kai glared and muttered fiercely. Bang! The more Wang Kai thought about it, the angrier he became. He jumped off the table and didn't even have time to tidy up his clothes. He heard the noise coming from downstairs, and Li Lingxian's seductive voice was among them. He immediately ran downstairs and shouted, Li Lingxian, come over here. I was drunk last night and didn't feel anything. I was taken advantage of by you. Now that my drunkenness has subsided, let's do it again. The originally noisy second floor of the White Jade restaurant instantly became so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. More than 10 pairs of eyes, big and small, looked at the stairs to the third floor of the White Jade restaurant in astonishment. Wang Kai's footsteps suddenly stopped. Looking at the people sitting below, he was dumbfounded on the spot. Li Lingxian sat in front of a table, her body wrapped in purple muslin. She had a seductive temperament. Across from her sat an extremely beautiful figure. It was the current family head of the imperial tutor's residence, Lu Qingshan's daughter, Lu Yao, who was engaged to the marshal's residence. On one side were the beauties of the White Jade Hotel. There were more than 10 of them, and they were standing behind Li Lingxian. On the other hand, Lu Yao's side seemed to be a little weak. There was only a pretty maid standing behind her. Oh, young Lord Kai, you're awake. Since young Lord Kai is still interested, why don't we do it again? Li Lingxian's eyes flickered as she shot a provocative glance at Lu Yao. Her seductive figure swayed as she walked towards the third floor. Wang Kai's face stiffened when he heard this. He thought to himself, I do want to do it again with you, but is this the time to do that? If he really angered Lu Yao, the daughter of the imperial tutor's residence, the engagement would be torn apart. Then, not only would he lose face, the old man would probably beat him until he cried for his father and mother. Ahem, young Lady Lingxian misunderstood. I was just speaking casually. As for the matter of reciting poetry, let's leave it for next time. Wang Kai smiled faintly. He casually tidied his clothes and walked down with an indifferent expression. Li Lingxian was startled. Seeing Wang Kai casually walk around her, anger couldn't help but appear in her beautiful eyes. She coldly snorted and said, Young Lord Kai, are you going to wipe your mouth and leave after eating everything? Wipe my mouth? I didn't wipe my mouth either. Wang Kai feigned ignorance. He didn't even dare to look at Li Lingxian. He walked straight to Lu Yao and said with a faint smile, Thank you for coming here personally, lady fiancée. Shall we go? Did you remember something wrong? I told you yesterday that I've never acknowledged the engagement set by the older generation, so please pay attention to how you address me. Lu Yao said coldly. It seems that she doesn't acknowledge you as her fiancé. Young Lord Kai treated Lingxian so heartlessly in vain. This is really retribution. Li Lingxian covered her face and laughed. Wang Kai's face immediately darkened. He looked at her, dumbfounded. Since she didn't acknowledge the engagement, why did she come here to find him? Could this be the so-called modesty of a woman? Thinking of this, Wang Kai immediately understood. He nodded carelessly and said with a smile, Oh, then young Lady Lu, shall we go? Lu Yao nodded coldly. She stood up and casually glanced at Li Lingxian. Her eyes seemed to say, You're still far from being able to fight with me. Li Lingxian was so angry that she gritted her teeth and glared at Wang Kai even more angrily. Along the way, Wang Kai was extremely proud. He thought to himself, I'm still quite charming. As for that crown prince of the sky-suppressing king, he can just screw off. Now, the #1 beauty of the royal city, Lu Yao, has taken the initiative to find me. That's Wang Kai. Oh my god! He actually slept in the White Jade Tower for a night. Does that mean the rumors are true? I really didn't expect Wang Kai to be so powerful. Last night, not only did he beat the Su family's young master, Su Kuan, until he fainted, he even beat up the crown prince of the sky-suppressing king, Wan Lu. TSK, you still don't know? The crown prince was defeated by young master Wang Kai with words. In the end, he was even driven out by the White Jade Tower's top hostess, Li Lingxian, leaving only the two of them. I don't know what happened. What else can happen? Didn't you see? The Imperial Advisor's Residence's daughter, Lu Yao, has already gone to the White Jade Tower to ask for Wang Kai. It's already noon, and she only brought Wang Kai out. A man and a woman shared a room for a night until noon the next day. What else do you think they can do? Listening to the discussions around him, Wang Kai felt more and more proud. He nodded and smiled at those people indifferently, as if admitting that what they said was true. Haha, what are you so proud of? Only a few people know about what happened on the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower last night. However, in just one night, the entire royal city has heard about it. Don't you think it's very interesting? Lu Yao sneered. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He flicked his wrinkled clothes indifferently and said indifferently, "It's indeed very interesting. However, I don't care about this." Then what do you care about? Lu Yao's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light as she asked with some surprise. Haha, of course it's about when we'll get married. Wang Kai grinned. His face was like a pig, causing Lu Yao to frown and coldly snort. I don't care when you started cultivating, and I won't ask why you've been hiding it. However, if you want to marry me, the current you is far from enough. Today, I came to see you to remind you that no matter what, you're still the fiancé of the Imperial Advisor's residence. Please pay attention to your words and actions. If there's a next time, I'll definitely make you regret it, Lu Yao said coldly. After she finished speaking, she quickly left. Before Wang Kai could react, her figure had already disappeared. She's actually this strong? What realm is she in? Wang Kai was stunned. He never thought that the daughter of the Imperial Advisor's residence would actually have such a strong martial realm. Even he, who was already a 9th-grade martial master, couldn't catch her shadow as she left. Chapter 9. How is it? Our young miss is very powerful, right? Hee, she's my idol. Yue pursed her lips and smiled. Wang Kai smacked his lips and nodded in agreement. It's quite. Why are you still here? Only then did he realize that there was a 16 or 17-year-old girl standing behind him. She was wearing a green dress and had a delicate and pretty face that was extremely pleasing to the eye. Especially that pair of mischievous big eyes, which were blinking and laughing at him. I have to stay and watch over you in young Miss Place. Otherwise, what if you go to the White Jade Tower again? Yue angrily stuck out her tongue. Sending a maid to watch over me? Wang Kai could not help but raise his brows. He squinted his eyes and turned around, carefully sizing her up from head to toe, causing Yue to hold her chest and continuously retreat. Her large eyes blinked, and she was truly a little afraid in her heart. What are you looking at? Young Miss said that Yue was born beautiful. Men who look at me lecherously are definitely not good people. If I meet such a person, as long as I tell Young Miss will help Yue deal with him. Yue pursed her lips and pretended to be strong as she threatened. Wang Kai's forehead was full of black lines. He glanced at her indifferently and said disdainfully, "You have no chest and no butt. What's there to look at? You bastard! You clearly looked at me so carefully just now." Yue was so angry that her face turned red. She pointed at him and clenched her teeth. "Who's looking at you? I'm looking at the beauty behind you. Tsk, she's really beautiful. Wang Kai lecherously praised. Where is she? Yu frowned and hurriedly turned around. However, she didn't find any beauty. There were a few aunties selling vegetables, but when she turned around, there was no sign of Wang Kai. She immediately realized that she had been deceived. She pouted and coldly snorted. Young Miss was right. This Wang Kai is a hateful bastard. He can run away, but can the temple run away? Marshal's residence. Wang Kai leisurely put his hands behind his back, humming a little tune as he walked through the gate. Looking at the guards standing on both sides of the gate, he was instantly enraged. He snorted coldly and said, "Last night, didn't you say that you were going to keep watch for Ben Shao outside the White Jade Tower? Why didn't you come up to report that Miss Lu had gone? Do you still have the face to return home?" "Young master, we returned to the manor in the wee hours of the morning. Uncle Fu said that it would be fine for you to stay there by yourself." If they had known that their young master was so awesome, they would have followed him up last night. Now, they didn't even have the chance to cry. Fu Bo was there last night? Wang Kai stared blankly for a moment, then immediately understood. He thought about how Fu Bo had killed countless enemies on the battlefield. When he returned to the royal city, he would have to deal with some matters in the manor. It was reasonable for him to go to the White Jade Tower at night. He immediately nodded and left with small step. In the middle of a courtyard with beautiful scenery, Wang Kai walked in happily. Looking at the scenery around him, his heart was filled with pride. Even though it couldn't be compared to the status of the Crown Prince of Wonkong, this courtyard wasn't too shabby either. "Young master, I heard that you have reached the 9th level of martial master. Have you opened the power of your bloodline?" In the courtyard, Fu Bo was sitting in front of a stone table. When he saw Wang Kai come in, he asked with a smile, "Fu Bo, why are you in my courtyard?" Wang Kai stared blankly. When he saw Fu Bo's blank face, he immediately put on a "you and I know" look. He sat opposite him, poured tea, and said with a smile, "Fu Bo's body is still the same as before. After working hard in the White Jade Tower, you still look like you were in your youth. I really admire you." White Jade Tower. Working hard all night? In his youth? Fu Bo's face darkened. He suddenly understood. He was so angry that he blew his beard and stared. He coldly snorted and said, "Young master, you are really capable now. You even dare to make fun of me. How can you say that I was joking? Just now, the guard said that you went to the White Jade Tower last night. In that kind of place, besides looking for women, what else can you do?" Wang Kai said with a wink. "Don't talk nonsense. Let's talk about business. Have you opened the power of your bloodline? What level have you reached?" Fu Bo frowned and asked, "The power of bloodline?" Wang Kai's face was full of doubts. If it was martial arts, he had some understanding. However, the power of bloodline had never appeared in his memory. He immediately shook his head and said, "Fu Bo, I don't even know what the power of bloodline is. How can I open it?" "Without opening the power of bloodline, you can become a 9th-grade martial master overnight." Fu Bo frowned even more. Even if he had been a martial artist his whole life, he had never encountered such a situation. Even if he was a genius, it was impossible to do such a shocking thing. Could it be that the power of bloodline is too high and he is deliberately hiding it? Uncle Fu thought about it for a while, and his eyebrows gradually relaxed. This was the only thing he could do now. He recalled Wang Kai's previous actions, and now that the door of martial arts was wide open, he could not help but sigh inwardly. Young master has really grown up. Wang Kai looked on from the side and was stunned. He did not know what kind of mental struggle Fu Bo was having. However, looking at him, it seemed that he had solved it. He immediately asked curiously, "Fu Bo, what is the power of bloodline?" Still pretending. "Forget it, since young master has chosen to hide it, then let him be." Fu Bo looked at him with a playful expression and said indifferently, "The power of bloodline is a martial artist's aptitude and future achievements. It is also the key to a martial artist's defeat and victory. Just like young Master Cough, just like some martial artists in the world who did not cultivate martial arts in the beginning. However, when the power of bloodline is opened, they can use the power of bloodline to break through and become a martial artist. The level of the power of bloodline is related to the person's future achievements. For example, the lowest level of bloodline. Once the power of bloodline is opened, it means that the person's achievements will stop at the martial disciple realm. If it is level 2, it means that the person can reach the martial master realm. Level 3, it means that the person can reach the martial general realm. As long as the level of the power of bloodline is confirmed, the person will definitely reach the corresponding martial arts realm. Of course, the power of bloodline also has a special ability. Speaking of this, Fu Bo's expression became more and more playful. Seeing that Wang Kai was listening with great interest and even had a look of anticipation, Fu Bo could not help but sigh in his heart. He secretly thought that the young master's ability to brag was very strong, and his ability to play dumb was also not bad. What other special ability is there? Wang Kai quickly asked. Killing enemies above your level. Fu Bo said indifferently. Killing enemies above your level. Wang Kai's expression suddenly changed. He was extremely excited. If he could open the power of bloodline and have the ability to kill enemies above his level, wouldn't that be awesome? Just like the use of martial arts, in a fight between martial artists of the same level, the strength of the martial arts can determine the advantage of one side. The power of bloodline can kill enemies above your level. If it is a level 1 bloodline, you can kill enemies above your level. If it is a level 2 bloodline, you can kill enemies above your level. If it is a level 10 bloodline, you can kill enemies above your level. Fu Bo said. He would not stop until he was shocked to death. Chapter 10. Uncle Fu, how do I activate the power of the blood? Wang Kai couldn't wait to ask. His heart was already itching with the temptation of the bloodline power. How could he do it if he didn't master the ability to kill enemies above his level? If one day he met an opponent who had activated the power of the blood, the gap between them would be huge. It would be an insurmountable gap. Just like the young master of the Su clan, Su Kuan. Back then, he was a grade 6 martial master while Su Kuan was a grade 5 martial master. There was only a difference of 1 grade between them, yet they were able to defeat Su Kuan in 1 move. The activation of the power of the bloodline requires the martial artist to have a strong aptitude and talent. Perception and luck are also very important. Some people are unable to activate the power of the bloodline in their entire lives, while others have already activated the power of the bloodline in the martial disciple realm. Uncle Fu said lightly. Wang Kai's eyelids twitched. He mumbled, that means there is no shortcut to activating the power of the blood? In terms of potential, talent, and comprehension, even Wang Kai himself did not know how high he was. After all, he had used the bragging system to break through to the next level. In terms of luck, it was even more illusory. Who would know how much luck he had? Uncle Fu looked at him strangely and felt a little angry for no reason. He thought to himself that this brat had used the power of his blood force to reach the 9th grade martial master realm, yet he was still playing dumb. Uncle Fu couldn't point it out, so he could only casually say, rumor has it that the Shenwu Academy has a 9-floor Tower of Babel. If you can break through to the 9th floor, you might be able to activate your blood force. Shenwu Academy, 9-floor Tower of Babel. Haha, since there is a way, then it is easy. What's Shenwu Academy's 9-floor Tower of Babel? As long as Ben Shao goes, won't it be a piece of cake? Wang Kai's face suddenly lit up. He waved his arm proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Uncle Fu's mouth twitched. He took out a book of martial techniques and threw it on the stone table. He quickly got up and left. He could not continue listening to Su Kuan's bragging. Turning cloud palm? Master-level martial skill. When Wang Kai saw this, he was stunned. He picked up the martial skill and flipped it open. He couldn't help but smack his lip. He secretly thought that Uncle Fu was indeed not simple. He could even casually take out a master-level martial skill. It must be known that there were only a few master-level martial skills in the Marshal's mansion. As the name suggested, master-level martial skills were the ultimate martial skills that martial masters could display. Although martial disciples could also practice them, the power they could display was very small. Above the sure level were the ancestor-level martial skills, which were beyond the scope of the sure level. They could only be practiced by martial generals, and their power was naturally terrifying. In the entire Marshal's mansion, there was only one Grandmaster martial skill. Wang Kai grinned. It was already good enough to have a sure-level martial skill. As for a zone-level martial skill, even if it was given to him, he wouldn't be able to practice it unless he reached the martial general realm. Oh right. There's a store in the bragging system. Wang Kai's eyes lit up. He quickly opened the system store. With one look, he was dazzled. Sure level, zone level, emperor level, saint level, immortal level, and god level. There were all 7 levels of martial skills. Wang Kai's breathing suddenly became rapid. Was this going against the heavens? The zone-level martial skill was already the top in the divine martial dynasty. As for the emperor-level martial skill, he had never even heard of it. If he could obtain it, wouldn't he be super awesome in the future? Moreover, this was only secondary. Compared to martial skills, there were even more precious cultivation skills. The 7 levels were also vivid in his mind. Cultivation skills determined a martial artist's future. If a martial artist's talent was exceptional, but there was no cultivation skill of a higher level, then no matter how talented the martial artist was, he could only stay in the same place. A sure-level cultivation skill could allow a martial artist to cultivate from martial disciple to the peak of martial master. A zone-level cultivation skill could allow a martial artist to break through the martial general realm and cultivate to the peak of martial ancestor realm. Only with a cultivation skill of a higher level could one continue to cultivate. This showed the importance of cultivation skills. Damn it! With the bragging system in hand, I will definitely become the most awesome martial artist in the world. With a wave of my hand, thousands of beauties will appear. With a stomp of my feet, the earth will shake and the mountains will tremble. Emperors will bow before me. Wang Kai suddenly clenched his fist and laughed with a brilliant expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai's face darkened. He had clearly said bold words, but he had been regarded as bragging. His high spirits were instantly doused with a bucket of cold water, making him extremely depressed. It's over. The young master has really gone crazy from bragging. What should I do? The young master wasn't like this in the past. He would only occasionally brag. How did it become a habit now? Can a person even brag? Outside the courtyard, a few servants and maids were lying on top of the wall and secretly watching. When they saw their young master blowing his own trumpet, they all covered their faces in embarrassment. What do you know? Wang Kai curled his lips and walked into the room with the martial skills. He went straight to the bed and sat down. He opened the system store and carefully selected the martial skills. However, after looking, Wang Kai's mood was once again beaten to hell. He smacked his lips and said somewhat speechlessly, "The current me can only exchange for master-level martial skills and martial skills. If I want to exchange for master-level martial skills, I have to at least reach the martial general level. It could be said that the future was long 10 dragon subduing slaps, advanced master-level martial skill, 2 bragging points. Solar Fist, advanced master-level martial skill, 2 bragging points. Spirit Bullet, advanced master-level martial skill, 2 bragging points. Afterimage Fist, advanced master-level martial skill, 2 bragging points. Air Step, advanced master-level martial skill, 2 bragging points. Wang Kai eagerly looked at the page belonging to the master level. He found that there were a total of 5 martial skills, all of which were advanced master level. The cloud-turning palm that Uncle Fu gave him was a beginner master-level martial skill. There were 7 levels of martial skills, and each level was further divided into beginner level, intermediate level and advanced level. In the end, Wang Kai had a sudden impulse and bought all 5 martial skills that existed in the master level with bragging points. He urged his mind to directly start cultivating. Since the power of the bloodline could not be activated for the time being, he could only rely on martial skills to increase his combat strength. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the martial skill, 10 dragon subduing slaps. The system has automatically reached perfection for you. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating the martial skill, Air Step. The system has automatically reached perfection for you. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating. 5 consecutive notifications caused Wang Kai's expression to change again and again. In the end, he was so excited that his face turned red. He suddenly slapped his thigh and grinned. I can cultivate the martial skill to perfection in an instant. There is no need to go through the process of a martial artist cultivating a martial skill. I just want to ask, who else? Chapter 11. Young Master hasn't left his room for almost a month. Could something have happened to him? I don't think so. Master has already ordered that no one is allowed to disturb young Master. But young Master hasn't eaten for almost a month. What do you know? Young Master is now a powerful martial artist. I've heard from Uncle Fu that martial artists can absorb the yuan qi of heaven and earth. Not to mention a month, even a year would be fine. But tomorrow is the day of the Shunwu Academy's disciple recruitment ceremony. Didn't young Master challenge the Crown Prince of the Sky-suppressing King a month ago? If he doesn't go, the future young mistress will. Don't talk nonsense over there. Who dares to snatch the young mistress of the Marshal's residence? Although she said this, the faces of the dozen or so servants surrounding the courtyard were filled with worry. The dozen or so pairs of eyes were anxiously looking at the tightly shut door. Looks like my talent isn't high enough. The tumbling cloud palm martial technique that Uncle Fu gave me actually took so long to reach perfection. In the future, I'd better not cultivate any skills outside the system. It's too troublesome. Wang Kai grinned and sighed helplessly. What they didn't know was that it would take at least half a year to master a martial skill of the master level, even if it was only at the primary level. Wang Kai was already very talented to be able to master the turning cloud palm to the perfection level in nearly a month. But even if Wang Kai knew this, he wouldn't want to cultivate any martial technique outside the system. In his words, it was too much of a waste of time. With so much time, who knows how many times he would have bragged and broken through many realms. Moreover, in Wang Kai's opinion, the martial techniques in the system weren't any worse than those given by Uncle Fu. Young Master Kai. Young Master Kai. Come out quickly. Someone dares to provoke you in King City. Bang bang bang. Along with a squeal that sounded like a pig being slaughtered, a series of earth-shaking noises resounded incessantly, causing the pretty faces of the dozen or so maidservants outside the courtyard to change. They glanced at each other, and their eyes were filled with anger. That damned fatty Lu. I've been here dozens of times this month. It can't be helped. After all, his grandfather and our master are old friends. Sigh, even the guards in the mansion couldn't stop him. Not long after, the eldest young master of the Lu family, Lu, appeared outside the courtyard. Looking at the still tightly shut door, he could not help but smack his lips as he looked anxiously at the dozen servants surrounding him. "Your young master hasn't come out yet?" Lu asked anxiously. Young master has never come out." "Young master, please go back," the maid said. Hearing this, Lu's face twitched and his eyes suddenly turned red. It was unknown what kind of mental struggle he was having, but he suddenly opened his mouth and shouted, "Young Lord Kai, bad news! A bald donkey set up a ring in King City to provoke you, saying that your bragging skills are inferior to his." Bang! The closed door suddenly opened and Wang Kai walked out quickly. He stared at him in shock and asked, "Who is it? Who dares to say that Benxiao's bragging skills are inferior to his? Oh my God! What is young master doing? Is bragging really that important?" The dozen or so maids all covered their mouths, their faces full of disbelief. A bald donkey, cough cough, no, I don't know where Su Kuan invited a monk from, calling himself a bragging divine monk. He said that he would defeat young Lord Kai and make young Lord Kai kowtow to Su Kuan, Lu said, panting. A bragging divine monk? Su Kuan invited him? Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this, and immediately lost interest. He curled his lips and said disdainfully, "What kind of trash could that coward Su Kuan invite? Benxiao is the #1 bragging god in King City. Is he someone who would accept a challenge from just anyone? That's not it. This bald donkey is really amazing. He has already defeated many of his fellow cultivators in Royal City and won several tens of millions of silver notes," Lu hurriedly added. As he spoke, his fat face trembled violently, his face full of pain. It was obvious that this guy had lost a lot. "You lost as well?" Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at him playfully. It must be known that this fatso Lu had blown the original Wang Kai of the Marshal's mansion to death. If he hadn't transmigrated here, the 3rd floor of the White Jade Tower would have been occupied by this guy. However, that would definitely be the last time Fatty Lu was so carefree. If he had not transmigrated in time, the Marshal's quarters would definitely have chopped this guy to death. Even if his grandfather and the old master were old friends, he would not have been able to escape death. I lost more than 1,000,000 silver, Lu said, extremely pained. So much? But even if he had lost so much, this guy would not be begging him like he was about to die. After all, even if the old master and his grandfather had a good relationship, he did not have a good relationship with him. Otherwise, they would not have been bragging to each other, causing Wang Kai to be blown to death. "You lost more than 1,000,000 silver, why are you looking for me? Don't tell me that the bald donkey wanted to challenge Benxiao. I think you were the one who sold me out, right? Do you want me to help you take revenge?" Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at him with disdain. Hearing this, Lu's face stiffened. His eyes were red as he gasped for breath. In the end, he actually knelt on the ground and cried, "Young Master Kai, please be magnanimous and not stoop to pettiness. Help me this time. That bald donkey actually wants me to become a monk with him. I don't want to be a monk." Wang Kai heard this and could not help but laugh on the spot. No wonder he would give up his face to beg him. After all this fuss, the bet was that he would have to become a monk if he lost. Seeing him crying and wiping his tears, with his big snot almost rubbing onto his clothes, Wang Kai kicked him with a look of disgust and said speechlessly, "What's wrong with being a monk? Isn't it good to be a monk? Using the sign of saving the world to pick up girls, beautiful girls will lower their guard against you because you are a monk. The success rate of picking up girls will definitely be greatly increased. Isn't that great?" "Really?" Lu was taken aback. He looked at Wang Kai seriously. "Of course it's true. Being a monk is very good. You can go with that bald donkey, asterisk cough asterisk asterisk cough asterisk, go with that bragging divine monk. In the future, your Lu family will definitely have many children and grandchildren. Wang Kai grinned and said, but secretly added in his heart, even if I have many children and grandchildren, I won't have any hair. That's not right. I heard that monks have to shave their heads, and once they shave, they have to abide by the Buddhist precepts. Wine, meat, fish, beauty, wealth, and aura are all forbidden. A maidservant muttered, "What?" Lu Li's ears twitched and his fat face trembled violently. He rushed forward and hugged Wang Kai on the spot, crying even more miserably, "Young Master Kai, you can't leave me alone. No matter what, we are fellow braggers." This little girl. Wang Kai suddenly pushed Lu away and glared at the maidservant. Then he said lightly, "It's not impossible for me to help you, but you have to give me money. And I don't want much. 10 million taels is enough to make Ben Shao come out of the mountain." Chapter 12. 10 million. As soon as these words came out, the maidservants on the side were all dumbfounded, looking at Wang Kai strangely. None of them had thought that their young master's bragging would cost so much money. Even if Lu was the young master of the Lu family, one of the 4 great families, it was impossible for him to take out so much money. "Young Master Kai, I really don't have that much money right now. Grandfather only gives me 3 million every month and I've already lost it all. I really can't take out that much money," Lu cried out as he wiped away his tears. Wang Kai raised an eyebrow when he heard this. He flicked his wrinkled clothes and said lightly, "Fatty Lu, Ben Shao is the #1 bragging god in King City. If you don't have enough money, you want to invite this bragging god to come out? Are you trying to make me laugh?" But I really can't take out that much money," Lu muttered with a face full of grievances. "Can't take it out? Then that's easy." Wang Kai shrugged indifferently. Under Lu Li's hopeful gaze, he waved his arm and said lightly, "If you can't take it out, then go become a monk. See the guest out." "Pooh!" The maidservants all held back their laughter as they came forward with flushed faces. They bowed to Lu and said in unison, "Young Master Lu, please go back. Our young master is tired and wants to rest." "Wait. I have something to pledge." The veins on Lu Li's forehead bulged as his fat face trembled violently. His eyes darted back and forth as if he had made an important decision. Finally, he clenched his teeth and took out a black dagger from his bosom. He gritted his teeth and said, "Young Master Kai, this dagger was given to me by grandfather to protect myself. I'll pledge it to you first." But Wang Kai's face suddenly changed when he saw this. Without saying a word, he directly took the dagger from Lu Li's hand and quickly glanced at it before stuffing it into his bosom. He nodded and said, "Good, in that case, let's go. I'll take this job. Young Master Kai, when I have enough money in the future, you must return the dagger to me, otherwise the old man will definitely kill me," Lu hurriedly added. Wang Kai suppressed the excitement in his heart, reached out and patted him on the shoulder. He said with a righteous face, "That's natural. You and I are brothers. Naturally, I won't let you be in danger. Let's go." "It's over. This guy probably won't give it to me," Lu nodded with a bitter face. His heart was filled with grief. He secretly hated that bastard Su Kuan. If it weren't for him inviting a bald donkey, he wouldn't have been itching to boast with him. In the end, it caused him to suffer a crushing defeat. Now, not only was he in danger of becoming a monk, he had even lost his precious dagger. "Haha, this is really interesting. That old man Lu Donglu's grandson is exactly the same as he was back then. He even took out his treasure." The old man's figure appeared in the mansion. When he saw Wang Kai and Lu walking out of the mansion, he couldn't stop laughing. If the young master hadn't stopped comprehending the martial arts, I would have definitely smashed that Lu brat into a meat patty. Uncle Fu walked out from behind and snorted with a cold gaze. The old man waved his hand and said indifferently, "Isn't everything fine now? We don't need to interfere with the matters of the younger generation. Let them be." Lulu, who had just left the marshal's mansion, trembled violently. He only felt a chill behind him. He looked back at the empty marshal's mansion and couldn't help but wipe off the cold sweat on his forehead. Fortunately that old fellow didn't get angry. The old man said that he was more terrifying than Marshal Wang. It was too dangerous just now. Lulu recalled the shout outside the courtyard and felt his whole body tremble. If he hadn't been forced into a corner, he wouldn't have dared to shout outside Wang Kai's courtyard. Where was the arena set up? Wang Kai asked indifferently. At the mention of this, Lu Li's face immediately turned ferocious. He said fiercely, "On the second floor of the White Jade Tower." White Jade Tower. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He couldn't help but feel a little nervous. If Lu Yao from the Imperial Tutor's mansion found out about this, he would definitely be finished. When he thought of that girl's martial arts realm, he didn't feel confident at all. "If you dare to do anything that will harm the reputation of the Imperial Tutor's mansion, I will definitely make you regret it." Lu Yao's words were still vivid in his ears. This caused Wang Kai's face to darken. He couldn't help but slow down his footstep. "Young Master Kai, why are you walking so slowly? Could it be that you're afraid of that bald donkey?" Lulu was stunned. He turned around and looked at him in confusion. He was originally walking behind him, but now he was more than 10 steps ahead of him. Wang Kai's face turned angry when he heard this. He immediately forgot about Lu Yao. He suddenly waved his sleeve and said disdainfully, "Ben Shao is afraid of a bald donkey? What a joke. Let's go." On the second floor of the White Jade Tower, Lulu walked in front and swaggered up the stairs. He looked at the dozens of descendants of Royal City's nobles sitting around him. Finally, his gaze fixed on Su Kuan and he cursed fiercely, "Su Kuan, when young Master Kai defeats that bald donkey, I will beat you up so badly that even your father won't recognize you." "Humph, Brother Lu, don't brag in front of me. Hurry up and let Wang Kai come over." Su Kuan curled his lips in disdain. He was a dignified 5th-grade martial master, while Fatty Lu was only at the same level as him. Even if they fought, neither of them would be at a disadvantage. Lu Li's eyes narrowed into slits. He moved to the side in an extremely arrogant manner and stretched out his hand. "Let's welcome the #1 braggart of Royal City, young Master Kai." Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, dozens of pairs of eyes were simultaneously fixed on the staircase. When Wang Kai walked up with an indifferent expression, each and every one of them hurriedly opened their mouth. "Young Master Kai, if you can defeat this bald donkey, I'm willing to take out 300,000 taels to welcome you." "That's right, I'll take out 200,000 taels. I'll take out 400,000 taels." After the dozens of officials, they all cheered enthusiastically. Every one of them was extremely depressed in their hearts. Every one of them had lost miserably. A total of several tens of millions of taels of silver had already been won by the bald donkey invited by Su Kuan. "Fatty Lu, record down the amount of silver they are offering," Wang Kai said indifferently. He lightly nodded towards them. With his hands behind his back, he walked towards the monk and sat down in front of him. He had the appearance of an expert. The monk's face was filled with benevolence and a smile. He was about 30 to 40 years old. He wore a golden Buddhist robe that shone brightly. Beside him stood a monk's staff that was taller than a person. On his head there were 10 commandment scars. 10 commandment scars. An expert. Wang Kai's eyes bulged. The commandment scars were rarely seen in his previous life. After all, it had already been abolished. However, he still had some understanding of the ranks of the commandment scars. A monk with 10 Commandment scars was definitely someone with an extremely high status in Buddhism. Chapter 13. Are you an idiot? Did Ben Chao say that he can't beat him? Wang Kai glanced at him disdainfully. Su Kun held his breath when he heard this. Looking at Wang Kai's disdainful eyes, he couldn't help but recall the scene of him being knocked unconscious in the White Jade Hotel. He became even angrier as he glared at him with bloodshot eyes. He looked as if he wanted to eat him alive. Then why don't you fight back? Are you going to sit here and think about how to fight back while we wait for you? There has to be a time limit, right? Isn't that right, everyone? Su Kun gritted his teeth and said fiercely. However, when he tried to gain everyone's support, he found that no one paid any attention to him, nor did anyone agree with him. They all looked at him with indifference. This made Su Kun even angrier. He could only stand there and grind his teeth, his hatred for Wang Kai rising again. Su Kun, you bastard, get lost. If you dare to disturb young Master Kai again, I'll beat you up so badly that even your father won't recognize you. Lulu walked in front of him fiercely and pushed his fat belly against him, causing Su Kun to take a few steps back. Su Kun's expression became colder and colder as he stared at Lulu. He gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Damn fatty, when Wang Kai loses, I'll teach you a lesson without you saying anything." Tch, who knows who will teach who a lesson? Damn it! Who are you calling a damn fatty? Lulu suddenly reacted and shouted angrily with his eyes wide open. Pata. Just as Su Kun was about to curse and retaliate, Wang Kai lightly knocked on the table, causing everyone to hold their breath. Dozens of pairs of eyes looked over in unison. Grandmaster Ji-chun, it's actually not difficult to win against you. What I care about is, will you keep your promise? Wang Kai said faintly. In his heart, he was a little uncertain about this monk's temper. If he was really an expert, what would he do if he lost in bragging and became angry out of humiliation? Just based on the few words he said, it would be fine if they were all fake. It wouldn't be much of a threat even if he flew into a rage out of humiliation. But what if they were all true? The consequences would be unimaginable. Even if the old master and Uncle Fu appeared, they would definitely not be his opponent. Hearing this, Ji-chun smiled gently. Naturally, he understood Wang Kai's concerns. He nodded and said with a smile, "If almsgiver Wang can defeat me, I will naturally admit defeat." Master Ji-chun's dharma is profound. I don't think you'll go back on your words. If that's the case, I'll have to offend you. Wang Kai grinned and instantly returned to his usual attitude. He crossed his legs and tapped the table lightly with his fingers, saying indifferently, "Tathagata and I are brothers. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point." Swoosh. When these words were spoken, Ji-chun immediately stood up and looked down at Wang Kai. His face, which originally had a kind smile, instantly changed. He glared angrily at Wang Kai with a shocked expression. Under the powerful pressure that he suddenly unleashed, Wang Kai's body was directly suppressed to the point that he was unable to move. Cold sweat emerged all over his body. Damn it! He is indeed a master. Is he going to fly into a rage out of humiliation? Wang Kai's expression was uncertain. He had just arrived in this world and hadn't seen the flowers and plant. He also hadn't had a wife and concubines to rule the world. How could he die just like that? Who is Tathagata? Why does this bald donkey look so shocked? Master Kai is indeed worthy of his reputation. He defeated this bald donkey with just a casual blow. Ha! Our banknotes should be back soon. Ha! Everyone was overjoyed. Although they didn't know who Tathagata was that Wang Kai was talking about, they could tell from Monk Ji-chen's expression that the winner had been decided. Little did they know that Wang Kai was now trapped in Ji Chen's pressure. He couldn't speak and couldn't move. When he heard their joyous words, he really wanted to rush over and slap them. Almsgiver Wang, where did you find out about Tathagata? Ji Chen's expression was serious as he stared at Wang Kai. He sat back down in his chair and the pressure disappeared. Huff, huff, Wang Kai panted heavily as he stared at the bald monk with bloodshot eyes. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Thank goodness this bald monk had not actually become angry out of humiliation and attacked him. Otherwise, he would have definitely died here. Master Ji Chen, I've loved Buddhism since I was young. Therefore, I have some understanding of the Buddhist experts. If what I said just now offended the Buddhist sect, I hope you won't blame me. Wang Kai didn't dare to brag anymore. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and chose to act humble for the time being. Ji Chen frowned slightly when he heard this. He looked deeply at Wang Kai for a long time before finally sighing. Forget it, it seems that my fate with Zening has not arrived yet. This matter can't be forced. Only when fate is here, everything will naturally follow. Benefactor Wang, this poor monk has lost. It would be strange if you didn't lose. I've already risked my life to mention Tathagata. If you still dare to brag, you'll be disrespecting Tathagata. Wang Kai thought to himself. He quickly wrapped up all the banknotes on the table with his clothes. These banknotes were worth tens of millions of taels. Ah, I don't need to be a monk anymore. Lulu laughed maniacally. As he laughed, his fat body trembled, causing the entire second floor of the white jade tower to tremble. Whoosh! Su Kuan's expression was uncertain. After coldly glancing at Wang Kai, he chose to run to the stairs without saying a word. However, his shoulder was directly clasped by a plump palm. No matter how he struggled, he could not move at all. Your realm. Su Kuan suddenly turned around and stared at Lulu in disbelief. Damn your grandmother's son of a bitch. If I don't beat you until your father can't recognize you, Ben Shao won't be the number 2 braggart in Royal City. Lulu cursed and raised his hand to slap Su Kuan. Wang Kai looked at Lulu with some surprise. Seeing that Su Kuan, a dignified 5th-grade martial master, was actually beaten up by him to the point that he didn't even have the strength to retaliate, Wang Kai didn't expect this fatty Lu to be so strong. A 7th-grade martial master. Even a 6th-grade martial master could easily suppress Su Kuan, let alone a 7th-grade martial master. He was afraid that Su Kuan would be beaten to a pulp. Young Master Kai, hee, our banknotes. Dozens of Royal City's noble young masters gathered around and looked at Wang Kai while rubbing their hands. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at them with disdain. He said indifferently, "What banknotes? These banknotes were won by Ben Shao. What does it have to do with you? Moreover, you said that you would give me banknotes to welcome me. Ben Shao has remembered them and gave you a day to send them all to the marshal's mansion. Otherwise, look at his miserable state." Everyone looked in the direction Wang Kai pointed and saw that Su Kuan was lying on the ground after being beaten by Lulu. His face was swollen like a pig's head. What made them suck in a breath of cold air was that Lulu didn't stop slapping him. Please add it to your collection. If you have a recommendation ticket, please give it a vote. Chapter 14. The Imperial Advisor's Residence. A pavilion floated in the middle of the pond. Lu Yao, dressed in a white dress, sat gracefully in the pavilion. She held a scroll of yellowed ancient text in her hands. She lowered her head and read it carefully. Sometimes she frowned, sometimes she looked lost, and sometimes she looked enlightened. "Miss, I'm back." Yu Er appeared at the side of the pond. She jumped up and stepped on the water. In the blink of an eye, she arrived at the pavilion. How has Wang Kai been recently? Is there anything special about him? Lu Yao nodded lightly. She maintained her posture of reading the ancient text and asked casually. Miss, Wang Kai hasn't left his courtyard for almost a month. Because Uncle Fu deliberately stopped me, I couldn't get close to his room. Yu Er said apologetically. Patter. Hearing this, Lu Yao furrowed her brows and gently closed the ancient text. She indifferently said, It seems that Wang Kai does indeed have some secrets. Otherwise, he would not have been able to reach the realm of a rank 9 martial master in a short day. Since Uncle Fu does not wish for others to pry, then forget it. It's just that, miss. He left the marshal's residence today. Yu Er said hesitantly. Tomorrow is the Shenwu Academy's disciple recruitment ceremony, right? Haha, at least he knows what's good for him. He has the courage of a man from a general's family. He didn't go into seclusion to avoid the battle with the crown prince. Lu Yao said with a smile. Hearing this, Yu Er immediately turned her head and said while suppressing her laughter, Young miss, you think too highly of him. He didn't come out on his own. Instead, he was forcefully called out by Lu Lu of the Lu family to go to the White Jade Tower. As soon as these words were spoken, Lu Yao's expression immediately froze. Anger surfaced on her beautiful face. She originally thought that after Wang Kai stepped onto the martial path, he would become an outstanding expert in both word and deed. She had even praised him just now, but she didn't expect that. The difference between reality and reality was like heaven and earth. Bastard! If I don't teach him a lesson, he will never know what it means to be a frog in a well. Fatty Lu, why are you following me? The Lu clan's residence is over there. Hurry up and scram. On the street, Wang Kai looked at Lu Lu with disgust. Ever since they came out of the White Jade building, this guy had been sticking to his side, with no intention of leaving. Especially that flattering smile, it was really disgusting, giving people goosebumps. Heh, young Lord Kai, let me follow you. In the future, if anyone dares to be disrespectful to young Lord Kai, that's my disrespect. I'll definitely beat him until even his father can't recognize him, just like that bastard Su Kuan today, Lu Lu repeatedly promised. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. How could he not know what he was thinking? It was nothing more than the tens of millions of silver notes in his arms. Of course, there was also the black dagger. Do I need you to do it? Can't Ben Shao beat him? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. If he had to say what was most important to him, the first was bragging, and the second was the shiny silver. Of course, the shiny gold was also included. How could he let this guy take advantage of him? Lu Lu still had a smile on his face as he rubbed his hands and said unhurriedly, Young Lord Kai, what are you saying? If I let young Lord Kai solve everything personally, wouldn't I lose the title of King City's #1 braggart? What's more, for a third-rate trash like Su Kuan, if you let young Lord Kai personally deal with him, wouldn't that dirty your hands and lower your status? Let me do this kind of hard work. Fuck! This guy's tongue was pretty good. He didn't even need to think about it to say it out loud, and he even said it right. Wang Kai listened in a daze and couldn't help but look at him carefully. Looking at his fat figure, the corner of his mouth twitched. Fatty Lu, you don't need to beat around the bush with Ben Shao here. The silver notes and the dagger, I won't give you a single one. What? That won't do. Young Lord Kai, I don't want the silver notes, but you have to give me the dagger. That's my lifeblood. My old man will chop me up later. Lu Lu suddenly hugged Wang Kai. It was hard to tell if it was tears or snot, but it came just like that. He didn't even need to build up his feelings. Wang Kai's face darkened, and black lines appeared on his forehead. He secretly thought that if this guy became an actor, he would definitely be a crying god. I can return the dagger to you, but you have to take out 1,000 silver notes to redeem it. Wang Kai said with a shrug. Young Lord Kai, I have a way to make us the richest people in King City. Oh no, in the divine martial dynasty. Lu Lu quickly said in a serious tone. The tears from before had completely disappeared and were replaced with a serious expression. What way? I say, can you stop bragging in front of me? Are you and I on the same level? If you really had a way, would you have lost so badly that you even lost your underwear? You even have to take out the dagger to me as collateral. Hurry up and get lost. Ben Shao doesn't have time to chat with you. Wang Kai's expression was full of disdain. Whoosh. When Lulu saw that Wang Kai was about to leave, he didn't say anything and pounced on him again. However, this time, he missed and directly fell to the ground, his face covered in dust. He raised his head and spat a few times, then quickly shouted from behind, "Young Lord Kai, let's form a bragging alliance, and invite the descendants of officials and businessmen from all over the divine martial dynasty. We'll definitely make a lot of money." Bragging alliance? F*CKU. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He suddenly sped up and disappeared from the street in a few turns. Marshall's mansion. Just as he entered the mansion, Wang Kai met Uncle Fu. Seeing him standing there with an inexplicable smile on his face, Wang Kai couldn't help but feel a little nervous. He secretly thought that he hadn't bragged in front of him recently, right? "Young master, looks like you won quite a lot today." Uncle Fu laughed. Hearing this, Wang Kai heaved a sigh of relief. He patted the bag in his arms and said with a grin, "Not much, just tens of millions. Uncle Fu, are you waiting for me here?" "Yes, tomorrow is the Shunwu Academy's disciple recruitment ceremony. How's your cultivation of the flipping cloud palm?" Uncle Fu asked. Although it took me almost a month, I've finally reached perfection." Wang Kai scratched his head and said embarrassedly. He secretly thought that his talent was still a little lacking. Whoosh. However, Uncle Fu's face was full of shock when he heard this. After a while, he recovered and said with some suspicion, "In less than a month, you've already cultivated the flipping cloud palm to perfection? Really? Young master can't be bragging to this old servant, right?" Bragging? Wang Kai's expression was blank. Could it be that he was considered a genius for using almost a month to cultivate the flipping cloud palm? What was there to brag about? If Uncle Fu hadn't asked him personally, he would have been too embarrassed to say it out loud. "Ahem, Uncle Fu, I have indeed cultivated the flipping cloud palm to perfection. I'm not bragging." Wang Kai laughed dryly. Uncle Fu's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. He looked deeply at him and said in a deep voice, "Then, young master, show it to this old servant and broaden my horizons." Chapter 15. Cloud Flipping Palm. Wang Kai circulated the battle chi in his body, and layers of green light appeared on the surface of his body. He quickly raised his arm, and the battle chi that was originally on the surface of his body instantly gathered on his palm. A cyan light wrapped around Wang Kai's palm as he slammed it towards one of the fake mountains in the mansion. There was only a rumbling sound as the 5 to 6 meter tall fake mountain was sent flying into the air. Crack! Boom! However, it wasn't over yet. The rockery exploded into pieces after flying for a few dozen meters. The pieces exploded one by one and turned into powder that fell to the ground. "You have enough strength, and you have achieved the third stage of the attack. You have indeed reached the complete realm." Fu Bo's face was filled with shock as he looked at the powder falling from the sky. When he looked at Wang Kai again, his heart was filled with indescribable joy, and his face was filled with gratification. The cloud flipping palm was the first stage of the attack when one had enough strength to push a 1,000 object. In the second stage of the attack, the rockery exploded into pieces after being pushed into the air. In the third stage of the attack, the fragments were crushed into powder by the battle chi. If it was used on a human body, it would definitely turn the human body into minced meat. The rockery weighed a few thousand jin, while the human body only weighed a little more than 100 jin. How could the human body withstand it? "Uncle Fu, you didn't intentionally wait for me here for this, did you?" Wang Kai grinned and couldn't help but clench his fist. He was secretly shocked by the power that he had just displayed. After all, this was the first time he had displayed it. Uncle Fu nodded slightly and smiled mysteriously. The maid from the Imperial Advisor's residence has left. You were left? Wang Kai was stunned. He suddenly thought of something and slapped his forehead. He was speechless. That maid must have gone back to inform the Imperial Advisor. That's not the main point. The main point is that Master Ji-Chen came to the residence and said that he has an unfinished karma with the young master. He is now playing chess with the old master. He said that he won't leave the marshal's residence until the karma is settled, Uncle Fu said with a smile. Master Ji-Chen. He actually came to the marshal's residence before me. Damn it, if I had known earlier, I would have thought of a way to make Fatso Lu leave with him. Wang Kai's face darkened. He did not even have to think about it. The karma that Ji-Chen mentioned was definitely related to Fatso Lu. That was because he had stopped him from taking Fatso Lu as his disciple, and the result was that he had successfully taken Fatso Lu away and taken him as his disciple. Actually, young master, you don't have to be so distressed. Since Master Ji-Chen is willing to stay, it might not be a bad thing. Uncle Fu smiled faintly and left mysteriously with his hands behind his back. It might not necessarily be a bad thing. Black lines appeared on Wang Kai's forehead. What good could come out of letting such an unfathomable bald donkey stay at home? Perhaps one day he would not be able to wait any longer and fly into a rage. At that time, no one in the entire divine martial dynasty would be able to stop him. No, for the sake of my personal safety, I must let Fatty Lu become a monk as soon as possible, Wang Kai thought to himself. The next morning, Wang Kai led a few guards out of the marshal's mansion. He waved his hand at the old man and Uncle Fu who were standing at the entrance of the mansion. Suddenly, he became excited and waved his hand fiercely. Old man and Uncle Fu, wait for my news in the mansion. I will be invincible and take first place in this disciple recruitment ceremony. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. The old man's mouth twitched when he heard this. He smacked his lips and sighed. Even now, this kid still hasn't forgotten to brag. Haha, I don't think young master is bragging. It would be strange if he doesn't get first place. Uncle Fu smiled faintly. Wang Kai was immediately satisfied when he heard the prompt. He wore a white robe and waved a folding fan in his hand. His posture was elegant and extraordinary. He couldn't help but smile indifferently and say, "Going out and boasting to refresh myself is really a pleasure. Young master, I heard that the Imperial Advisor's mansion is leading the team to the Shenwu Academy's battle arena." A guard reminded him softly. Whoosh. With this, Wang Kai's relaxed expression disappeared. His face darkened and he said in a deep voice, "Who will be leading the team from the Imperial Advisor's mansion? My future father-in-law, Lu Qing-shen?" "No, it will be the future young mistress," the guard replied. Clatter. Wang Kai's face froze when he heard this. His fan fell to the ground. He raised his head and looked at the fluttering clouds in the sky. He opened his mouth and recited, "When it rains, it pours. When the boat is late, the wind hits its head." Good poem. What a good poem. Young master is indeed a genius in both the pen and the sword. How could the guards know what Wang Kai was feeling at this moment? When they heard the young master recite the poem, they all clapped their hands and cheered. Yes, it is indeed very wet, very wet. Wang Kai's mouth twitched. His face darkened as he kicked the fan on the ground far away. His heart was extremely gloomy. Outside the city gates of Wang City, Lu Yao was leading a group of 10 young people. They were waiting impatiently under the scorching sun. "Why isn't bragging God Wang here yet? It's already noon, we've been waiting for a few hours." Sigh, I think he must be afraid of Crown Prince Wan. Miss Lu, let's go. If we don't reach the Shenwu Academy before sunset, we'll miss the disciple recruitment ceremony. Many of the young masters of Wang City complained. However, Lu Yao, who was leading the group, remained silent. Her face was cold as she quietly looked at the city gate. Crown Prince Wan, what do you think? Qingfeng sighed and said. Su Yi of the Su family was also impatient. However, Lu Yao was indifferent. He could only look at the Crown Prince, Wan Zhu. Then, Su Ru of the Su family said in a crisp voice, Crown Prince Wan, let's not wait anymore. Why don't you persuade Miss Lu? 3 of the 4 aristocratic families had already spoken. This caused many of the young masters of Wang City to chime in and look at Wan Zhu. Wan Zhu nodded lightly. He had waited patiently for so long to let Lu Yao know what kind of person Wang Kai was. Since he had achieved his goal, he took the opportunity to say, Miss Lu, let's go. Wang Kai probably won't be coming. Young Master Kai will definitely come. Maybe he's already gone. What are you all chattering about? If young Master Kai finds out, you'll end up like Su Kuan, who didn't come today. Fatso Lu sneered. Little Rock King Peng 9 also said lightly, Fatso Lu is right. Brother Wang's martial realm is not inferior to Crown Prince Wan's. He shouldn't be afraid of a battle. Bastard! How dare you insult my brother? After the disciple recruitment ceremony, my father will go to your Lu family and ask for an explanation. My brother has already lost his chance to participate in the ceremony because of you. Do you think we can just let this go? Su Ru scolded angrily. Fatso Lu glanced at her in disdain and said lightly, Explanation? You can ask for that kind of thing. After all, Su Kuan has already lost his chance to participate in the ceremony. Why would Ben Chao be afraid of you? You, all right. Stop quarreling. Let's go. Lu Yao frowned and coldly cried out. Immediately, she coldly glanced at the city gate once again before turning around and hurrying on her way. She did not say another word. Chapter 16. Young Master, is it really okay for us to go to the Shenwu Academy alone? Yes, what if the young mistress blames us? The 2 guards asked nervously. They had been following Wang Kai and hiding in the city gates until Lu Yao and the rest left. Only then did they sneak out. Wang Kai's expression was full of disdain. He sneered, She blames Ben Chao? Does she dare? Men should be the priority in everything. Women should just take care of the house and do their job. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Oh, young master is wise. The 2 guards looked at each other and answered while holding back their laughter. They were secretly amused. If the young master was not afraid of the young mistress, why would he hide for so long? It's good that you know. Wang Kai snorted proudly and walked forward leisurely with his hands behind his back. He did not seem to be in a hurry at all. Young master, if we continue like this, we will not reach the Shenwu Academy before sunset. Left guard Wang Yuan said. Right guard Wang Lai also chimed in. That's right, young master, we should hurry on our way. Hurry on with the journey? What if we meet Lu Yao? That girl's cultivation level is terrifyingly high. At least, she is much stronger than me. Wang Kai muttered in his heart, but he could not hold back his pride. He said calmly, Don't be in a hurry. Enjoy the scenery along the way and broaden your horizons. Enjoy the scenery? Broaden our horizons? The 2 guards were stunned. They looked at the 2 sides of the road. It was a desert. Where was the scenery to enjoy? There was not even a blade of grass. The imperial city of the Shenwu dynasty was built in the middle of the desert. Young master, are you afraid of catching up with the young mistress? Wang Yuan blurted out. Wang Lai's expression changed when he heard this. He covered his mouth and whispered, Shoo. Don't you want your salary any more? The 2 guards looked at Wang Kai who was walking in front of them. Seeing that their young master was still leisurely and did not do anything out of the ordinary, they were slightly relieved. At the same time, they wiped the cold sweat on their foreheads and secretly said that it was fortunate that their young master did not hear them. Damn it, little girl, wait for your husband to brag a few more times and catch up to your martial arts realm. See if I don't teach you a lesson then. You actually made me lose face in front of my subordinates. Wang Kai thought viciously in his heart, but his face remained calm and indifferent. From time to time, he would recite poems and admire the surrounding scenery. Seeing such a scene, the two guards simply ignored it and followed behind slowly. After walking for a few hours, they raised their heads to look at the gradually darkening sky. The two of them could only sigh helplessly in their hearts. It's almost dusk. Let's hurry. With our speed, it won't be a problem to reach the Shenwu Academy in 2 hours. Wang Kai suddenly grinned and said. He secretly thought that Lu Yao and the others should have reached the Shenwu Academy by now. Yes, young master. The two guards' expressions turned serious. As guards of the marshal's mansion, their strength naturally could not be underestimated. They were much stronger than Wang Kai and were true powerhouses of the martial general realm. If they hurried with all their strength, it would be easy for them to fly a few hundred miles in 2 hours. Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, Wang Kai circulated his battle chi and covered his feet. He sprinted with all his strength. Immediately, he was like a stream of light, drawing a green light in the dark night. The two guards followed closely on both sides, protecting Wang Kai in the middle at a steady pace. The martial general realm is awesome. I also want to break through to the martial general realm as soon as possible. Wang Kai sighed in his heart. He had already used all his strength, but they still followed closely beside him. This showed how powerful the battle chi of the martial general realm was. Beitang Zhantian, how dare you do such a despicable thing to me during the mission? Aren't you afraid of being punished by the Elders' Hall when we return to the academy? Beitang Zhantian? Despicable thing? Hearing a woman's stern rebuke, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He could not help but stop and look at the fire on his right. What he saw was a woman in a green dress. She was holding a long sword and fighting with a black-robed young man. Beitang Zhantian? Who is so awesome that he dares to come up with such a name? Isn't this a challenge to Benshio's bragging authority? Damn it! Let's go and have a look. Wang Kai's face was filled with anger. He took a step forward and was about to run towards the fire, but Wang Yuan grabbed his shoulder and held him back. Young master, let's not cause trouble. We have to hurry, Wang Yuan advised. Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. He pushed Wang Yuan to the side and said calmly, "We have to help when we see injustice. Isn't this what we should do as a martial artist?" Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Wang Yuan and Wang Lai shook their heads and sighed. Who would believe that their young master was trying to be a hero? They secretly hated Beitang Zhantian. Why couldn't he have come up with a better name? Why did he have to come up with such an awesome name? Wasn't he trying to tell Wang Kai that he was better at bragging than he was? Murong Wanqing, I, Beitang Zhantian, am the strongest in the Beitang family. You are also the strongest in the Murong family. Our two families have been good friends for generations. Today, the Elder Hall allowed us to go out together to complete a mission. Don't you know the meaning behind it? The black-robed young man laughed. Pooh! Murong Wanqing's pretty face became more and more livid when she heard this. She was so angry that she lost her accuracy and was immediately hit by Beitang Zhantian's sword hilt on her right shoulder. Her body was shaken by the force and flew back more than 10 meters. Despicable! Beitang Zhantian, you call yourself the strongest in the Beitang family. You actually secretly put qi melting powder on the food. Murong Wanqing's face was pale as she gritted her teeth and angrily rebuked. Beiteng Jiantian put away his long sword and walked toward her with an indifferent expression. He squinted his eyes and smiled. Murong Wanqing, even Elder Murong Tong of the Elder Hall strongly approves of our relationship. What's the use of you continuing to struggle? Why don't you submit to me today, and let the two families become closer? What do you think? Bah! I, Murong Wanqing, would rather die than let a despicable person like you. You actually dare to kidnap a woman in broad daylight. You've really lost your morals every day. Today, Ben Shao will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and bring a villain like you to justice. Let go of that beauty and let me do it. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Murong Wanqing, who was speaking halfway, was stunned. Beiteng Jiantian, who was beside her, also stopped breathing. They stared blankly at the young man who appeared a dozen meters away from them. Young master, are you trying to save someone, or are you trying to take advantage of the beauty? The two guards followed from behind with stiff expressions. They were speechless as they looked at their young master. Chapter 17. Hee, may I ask where you're from? Do you know who I am? The black-robed young man, Beiteng Jiantian, let out a hollow laugh as he stared at Wang Kai and the others with a prideful expression. However, his expression changed slightly when he realized that he was unable to peek through their cultivation bases. The two guards were still manageable as they looked to be over 40 years old. Even the weakest of them should be upper-grade martial generals. However, what about Wang Kai? He looked to be only 15 or 16 years old, 6 years younger than himself. Yet, he could not see through his cultivation level either. Aren't you Beiteng Jiantian? Do you know that because of your name, a bloodbath is about to take place here today? Wang Kai opened his mouth and was about to speak. However, before he could make a sound, Wang Yuan and Wang Lai both sneered at him. Damn it! Am I the young master, or are you the young masters? Wang Kai secretly ground his teeth. They had wasted such a good opportunity to boast. He glared fiercely at them, then smiled calmly and said, Beiteng Jiantian, I don't care where you came from. It's your misfortune to have met me today. Congratulations to host for successfully boasting. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Host, it has been detected that your experience points have been maxed out. If you wish to have a breakthrough, you will need to cultivate the second part of the ancient Divine King's skill. After hearing the notification, Wang Kai's eyelids twitched. He calmly glanced at Beiteng Jiantian, then turned to the two guards and said, You two, go and teach him a lesson. Remember to leave him alive. Ben Shao will have a chat with him later. Yes, young master. Wang Yuan and Wang Lai acknowledged the order and drew out the sabers hanging from their waist. They stared at Beiteng Jiantian in a menacing manner and grinned. Little brat, you can only blame your bad luck for encountering our young master. Bastard. I'm a divine marshal. However, before Beiteng Jiantian could finish his sentence, he was surrounded by the two guards. Only now did he realize that his opponent was a 9th-grade martial general, 8 grades higher than him. Congratulations to host for successfully purchasing the Ancient Deity King's Art, Part 2. 10 bragging points have been consumed. Congratulations to host for successfully cultivating the second part of the Ancient Deity King technique. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to rank 1 martial general. Host, Wang Kai occupation, warrior realm, 1st grade martial general cultivation method, ancient divine king technique complete martial techniques, dragon subduing 10 slaps, solar fist, vitality bullet, afterimage fist, air steps, cloud flipping palm equipment. None bragging points, 0 experience. 010000. The state of the martial arts is now complete, and the bragging points have been used up. Fortunately, the experience has not increased. Wang Kai nodded his head in satisfaction, and urged his mind to close the martial arts. Bang! Suddenly, Beiteng Zhantian spat out a mouthful of blood as he was beaten up by the two guards. In the end, he was captured and tossed to Wang Kai. "Young master, we've caught him." Wang Yuan grinned. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He lowered his head and looked indifferently at Beiteng Zhantian. He raised his arm and pointed to the other side and said, "Go and capture that girl for Ben Shao." Murong Wanqing, who was just about to sneak away, cried out in alarm. Even if she was safe and sound, she would definitely not be able to escape the pursuit of the two guards, let alone the fact that she was already poisoned by the qi scattering powder. In a mere instant, she was already brought to Wang Kai. "Beauty, is this how you do things?" This hero saw injustice on the road and pulled out his blade to help. "Now that the crisis has been resolved, you don't even say thank you, and you want to leave?" Wang Kai curled his lips and looked at her with some displeasure. Murong Wanqing's charming face reddened when she heard this, and her beautiful eyes stared fixedly at him. She tightly clenched her teeth and did not say a word. In her opinion, this youth and Beiteng Zhantian were the same type of trash, and definitely not good people. Cough cough. Hee, may I know who this brother is? Why don't we become brothers and enjoy this girl together? Beiteng Zhantian said with narrowed eyes, and a trace of cold light flashed in his eyes. Bastard! Beiteng Zhantian, to think that you're the strongest person in the younger generation of the Beiteng family. Murong Wanqing's expression was furious, and she could not help but angrily rebuke. Slap! However, what awaited him was a crisp sound. Wang Kai had directly slapped Beiteng Zhantian's face, causing him to be dumbfounded on the spot. Since when had he, a core disciple of the Shenwu Academy, been slapped in the face by someone? Beiteng Zhantian could not believe this, and could not accept this. "You deserve it. I didn't think that you, Beiteng Zhantian, would have such a day." Murong Wanqing was dazed for a moment, and her charming face was extremely happy as she ridiculed him. Beiteng Zhantian came back to his senses, and the skin on his face twitched a few times. The burning pain on his face made him even more furious. He stared coldly at Wang Kai and sneered, "I am, slap. Who your grandmother is has nothing to do with Ben Shao. I only want to know one thing, do you want to live or do you want to die?" Wang Kai said with a calm smile, as he swung his slightly numb hand and stared at Beiteng Zhantian with a disdainful look. They had already caught him and beaten him up. Why would they care about what kind of awesome identity he had? In Wang Kai's eyes, this Beiteng Zhantian was nothing but an idiot. Bastard! I am the Shenwu. Slap! Beiteng Zhantian's eyes turned red. The burning pain on both sides of his face, and the humiliation caused him to grind his teeth together. He could not wait to tear Wang Kai apart. "You should have realized your wrongdoings before doing them. Unfortunately, you met Ben Shao today, but I don't see your realization. I only see your arrogance and unrepentance," Wang Kai said coldly. Beiteng Zhantian was instantly enraged after hearing this. His chest heaved with anger, and he could not calm down for a long time. Not only was he slapped by a 15-year-old kid, but he was also lectured by him? What kind of person is this young man? Murong Wanqing looked at Wang Kai strangely. Just now, he was all smiles, and all he said was frivolous words of a rich second generation. But now, why did he suddenly become so serious? Also, what he said was quite right. Is our young master enlightened? Wang Yuan smacked his lips and looked at Wang Lai with a puzzled look. Wang Lai also looked at him and said helplessly, "Maybe the young master really wants to be a hero? What do you want?" Beiteng Zhantian asked coldly. It's very simple. Leave all your valuables behind. Oh, as your punishment, leave your clothes behind too." Wang Kai smiled brightly. Whoosh! Murong Wanqing and the two guards were petrified after hearing this. Their guesses were completely dispelled. Sure. Beiteng Zhantian's face turned pale. He squinted his eyes and grinned hideously. He stood up with great effort and threw his space ring and clothes to the ground. Wang Kai's eyes immediately lit up. That was a spatial ring. Back in the White Jade building, he had already coveted the Wonkong Crown Prince's spatial ring. He hadn't thought that he would be able to obtain one today. All right, you can get lost now. Wang Kai waved his hand impatiently. He picked up the space ring and played with it in his hand. Chapter 18. Do you know who he is? How could you let him go so easily? Murong Wanqing's face was filled with disbelief. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and snorted in disdain. Isn't it just Beiteng Zhantian? Such an awesome name, Ben Shao will never forget it for the rest of his life. Damn, he even bragged about his name. If Ben Shao didn't show up today and teach him a lesson, I would have thought he was bragging. So it was because of his name that he attacked. The two guards sighed. Murong Wanqing was stunned for a few seconds and looked at him as if he was an idiot. After a while, she came back to her senses and said with a cold smile, "You will regret this. He is one of the core disciples of the Shenwu Academy and belongs to the Beiteng family, which is one of the 5 families that dominate the Shenwu Academy. Just because you humiliated him like this today, both the Shenwu Academy and the Beiteng family will not let you go. How dare you? My young master saved you out of the kindness of his heart. Not only do you not know how to be grateful, you even dare to be an alarmist here?" Wang Yuan's face was ashen as he scolded her harshly. Clink! Wang Lai's face darkened and he didn't say a word. He pulled out the sword at his waist and placed it on her neck without any explanation. Okay, why are you so serious with a girl? Wang Kai waved his hand and walked forward to push the sword to the side. He looked at her calmly and asked with a smile, "Then according to you I should kill him, right?" Murong Wanqing's face was cold as she sneered. "That's right, this is the best way for you. If I choose to kill him, then you will also be unable to escape death." Wang Kai's expression turned cold as he reached out to lift her chin. His eyes flashed with a cold light as he stared at her. As she looked at Wang Kai's gloomy face and his eyes that didn't contain a trace of emotion, Murong Wanqing felt as if her entire body had fallen into an icy cold hell. She was unable to imagine how the youth, who was all smiles earlier, could change so quickly. Sometimes he was cynical, sometimes he was murderous. Which was the real him? Why? Murong Wanqing's head was slightly raised, but she didn't choose to resist and instead looked straight at Wang Kai. She really didn't understand. The method she spoke of was absolutely beneficial to Wang Kai, yet why did he say that he would similarly kill her? Wang Kai shook his head. Looking at her pretty face, he couldn't help but smack his lips and sigh. Women will always be women. Since his identity is so powerful, even if Ben Shao isn't afraid, he doesn't want to be involved in any trouble. So if I kill him, do you still want to live as a bystander? It's not that Ben Shao didn't want to kill you, but he didn't want to. If he killed you, you would die too. Then wouldn't Ben Shao have saved you for nothing? He even got himself into trouble? Young master is wise. The two guards were startled when they heard this, and then they hurriedly cupped their hands and praised. Indeed, killing and not killing were 2 completely different situations. If he really killed Beiteng Zhantian, he would not only face the hatred of Beiteng Zhantian, but also the punishment of the entire Beiteng family and the Shenwu Academy. As long as he didn't kill Beiteng Zhantian, with the prestige of the Marshal's mansion, would both the Beiteng family and the Shenwu Academy fall out with each other? Obviously, it was impossible. However, Murong Wanqing didn't know Wang Kai's identity. Hearing this, she only felt disdain. With a contemptuous expression, she sneered, "Are you so sure that Beiteng Zhantian won't use the power of the Beiteng family to deal with you? Since you believe that he won't, why can't you believe that I won't expose you?" Hee, if you can strip naked and run around in front of me, I will also believe you. Wang Kai grinned. His eyes couldn't help but size her up, just like a pig. Murong Wanqing's breath caught, and she stared at him with her beautiful eyes. Only now did she realize that this was his plan. Indeed, if he really exposed Beitang Zhantian's humiliation today, not only would Beitang Zhantian's reputation be ruined, but even the Beitang family would be humiliated. If she was in his shoes, she would probably want to die. Beauty Murong, there's no need for us to argue about whether to kill or not. After all, he has already been released. Let's talk about how you want to repay me? Wang Kai shrugged and looked at her with a bright smile. Murong Wanqing heard this and gritted her teeth. Her beautiful face was ashen as she took off the interspatial ring on her finger. Soon after, she stretched out her arm and opened her palm. A blue interspatial ring lay quietly in the middle of her palm. She said disdainfully, "You actually took the initiative to ask for a reward for saving someone. You really have no shame. Here you go." Have no shame? Can you feed yourself with shame? Can shame get you out of the crisis of being humiliated? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. He raised his hand and slapped her arm to the side. He smiled indifferently and said, "Ben Shao already has an interspatial ring. Then what do you want?" Murong Wanqing gritted her teeth and said angrily. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this and circled her twice. He smacked his lips from time to time and praised, "What a good body. TSK, this body should be enough to play with for a year, right?" "Bastard!" Murong Wanqing angrily rebuked. Her beautiful face was red as she took a few steps back. "I don't have a bastard, but I do have 2 golden balls. Do you want them?" Wang Kai said with a smile. Murong Wanqing was so angry that she almost fainted. Her chest rose and fell violently. After a while, she gasped for breath and said coldly, "I didn't expect you to be so shameless at such a young age." "I really don't know which family taught you." "Impudent!" The 2 guards were furious when they heard this. Although they secretly felt that their young master was indeed a little shameful, when they thought of his reputation in King City, this was child's play. Fine. Since you say I have no shame, then fine. Now give Ben Shao a kiss and you can leave safely. Wang Kai smiled faintly and walked in front of her again. He raised his finger and pointed at his face. "Impossible. I'd rather die." "Die? Is death something that can be said so easily? You should be from Shinwu Academy, right? If I strip your body and hang it on the mountain gate of Shinwu Academy, I'm afraid many of your friends will come to collect your corpse, right?" Wang Kai said with a smile. Murong Wanqing's beautiful face changed color when she heard this. Her eyes were filled with fear as she looked at him. Her body trembled as she said, You can't do this. What nonsense are you talking about? Hurry up and give me a kiss. I'll treat it as a weakness you left for me. Otherwise, when you return to Shinwu Academy in the future, you'll spread it around and make Beitang Zhantian angry. Wouldn't I be finished then? Wang Kai said impatiently. No matter what, he still had to stay in Shinwu Academy in the future. If he couldn't pass the 9 levels of Tong Tian Tower and activate his bloodline power, Wang Kai would feel uncomfortable all over. How could he leave behind any hidden dangers? Chapter 19. Murong Wanqing's expression was furious and her face was ugly. She clenched her teeth and stared at him with reddened eyes. She felt wronged. Fight? She couldn't beat them. Even if she was at her peak, she wouldn't be a match for the 2 guards, let alone the fact that she was poisoned. Escape? That was a fool's dream. Even death was an extravagant hope, let alone escape. As soon as she thought of Wang Kai's threatening words, her determination to die was ruthlessly shattered. Can you change your request? Murong Wanqing clenched her teeth. As a core disciple of Shinwu Academy and the strongest member of the younger generation of the Murong family, how could she kiss a stranger? Moreover, he was such a shameless little brat. She couldn't accept this. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and said impatiently, "You don't have a choice. Before I change my mind, you'd better hurry up. Otherwise, it won't be something that can be solved with a kiss." "Damn bastard!" Murong Wanqing's face flushed red. After hesitating for a while, she clenched her teeth and closed her eyes. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. Pooh! Ah! Did you see that? She really kissed him. Benshio's charm isn't small. Wang Kai snorted proudly. He raised his arm and placed a finger on Murong Wanqing's lips, blocking her kiss. Murong Wanqing's eyes widened when she heard this. When she saw that she was kissing his finger, her face turned even redder. She quickly took a few steps back and spat out a few mouthfuls of saliva. She said coldly, "Are you playing with me? That's enough. Don't act like you've taken advantage of me. Hurry up and leave." Wang Kai shrugged and waved his hand carelessly. "Who's the one acting like he's taken advantage of?" The two guards slapped their foreheads and sighed. Murong Wanqing's face was livid. She stared coldly at Wang Kai and said with disdain, "You'll regret this." Whoosh! Seeing Murong Wanqing's figure disappear into the night, Wang Kai couldn't help but feel a little angry. He smacked his lips and muttered, "What kind of people are they? Benshao was kind enough to save her, but she actually threatened me." "Young master, let's hurry," Wang Yuan said. Wang Kai and the other two stopped in their tracks when a towering mountain peak appeared before their eyes. "Is this the mountain gate of the Xinwu Academy? Such a tall mountain can actually stand in the middle of the desert." Wang Kai raised his head to look at the peak of the mountain with an expression of indescribable surprise. "Young master, this mountain is not simple. It was captured by Wang Shang from the North Mountain with his supreme power. He personally named it Godly Martial Mountain. It has been standing here for more than 50 years, Wang Yuan said. The land of the North Mountain had been captured. Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this. In his memory, the land of the North Mountain was tens of thousands of miles away from here. How powerful was Wang Shang from the Xinwu Empire? How could he capture such a mountain and bring it here? Even if he was a martial general, he would definitely not be able to lift a mountain. "I suddenly feel that Wang Shang is quite pretentious," Wang Kai said, curling his lips. Wang Yuan and Wang Lai looked at each other when they heard this. They were speechless as they shook their heads and sighed. "Stop! Who are you? Tell me your names." On both sides of the mountain gate entrance stood two young men. When they saw Wang Kai and the other two approaching, they drew their swords from their waists. Their expressions were cold and full of caution as they looked over. They were the guarding disciples of the Xinwu Academy. Wang Kai was about to step forward to answer when he was suddenly interrupted by Wang Kai. "I am the descendant of the Xinwu Empire, Wang Kai from the Xinwu Empire. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point." Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and shrugged his shoulders in satisfaction. He turned to Wang Yuan and said, "Well, you can go up and introduce yourselves." Wang Yuan and Wang Lai were dumbfounded and did not react for a while. Who would have thought that their young master would brag wherever he went? The star of the martial star? Is there such an expert in the Xinwu Empire? The two guarding disciples were stunned and frowned as they pondered. It would be strange if there was such an expert. Wang Yuan shook his head speechlessly. Then, he put on a serious face and stepped forward with cupped fists. "We are the family generals of the Xinwu Empire's Marshal's Mansion. This is our young master, Wang Kai. He has come to the Xinwu Academy to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony." "What time is it now? Only now do you remember to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony?" The guarding disciple sneered. He thought that he would be able to pass easily by saying that he was from the Marshal's mansion. However, that was not the case. The other party was just a guarding disciple of the Xinwu Academy. How could they not be grateful? Even the marshal's mansion's name was useless? Just how powerful was the Shenwu Academy? Wang Kai frowned and was about to step forward to speak, but he was grabbed by Wang Lai. He said in a low voice, "Young master, this is not the royal city. Let's not cause any trouble, and let Wang Yuan handle it. Sorry, we were delayed on the way because of some trivial matters. Please make an exception for us." Wang Yuan cupped his fists and said. The guarding disciple looked at him with disdain and sneered. What trivial matters are more important than the apprenticeship ceremony of the Shenwu Academy? Please go back. Those who are participating in the ceremony have been registered. Unfortunately, you are late. You may not know, but on the way our young master saved. Shut up! Wang Kai suddenly interrupted. He stepped forward and patted Wang Yuan on the shoulder. There are some things that you can't talk about, he said lightly. But young master. Wang Yuan frowned and did not look good. If he missed the apprenticeship ceremony and was blocked at the gate, not only would he lose the battle with the crown prince of the sky suppressing king, but he would also lose the reputation of the marshal's mansion. All of you should leave quickly. If you dare to stay here, we will take all of you as criminals. Buzz. The two disciples who were guarding the mountain looked indifferent and pointed their swords at him. Their intention was self-evident. 1 million each. Can you let us pass? Wang Kai frowned and said lightly. Ignorant. The guarding disciple was full of disdain. 10 million. Wang Kai said again. Swoosh. When these words were spoken, the expressions of the two disciples guarding the mountain were startled. They glanced at each other with some hesitation. 10 million was such a huge sum. They were naturally extremely tempted. Haha, looks like the young master of the marshal's mansion is very rich. But, isn't 10 million a little too little? If we let you in, we will be punished. Look, haha. The two guarding disciples sheathed their swords and looked at Wang Kai with an inexplicable expression. How much money do you want to let us in? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at them with a smile. Chapter 20. The two guarding disciples were overjoyed when they heard this. They looked at each other and signaled with their eyes. They had never thought that they would be able to obtain a banknote worth 10 million taels of silver while carrying out the task of guarding the mountain. Whoosh! After a while, they seemed to have reached a consensus. One of the disciples who was guarding the mountain stretched out his hand and raised 2 fingers. He grinned and said, "Give each of us 20 million taels, and we'll let you in." That's right. Don't think that we brothers are asking for too much. If no one takes you into the mountain gate, even if we let you in, you will be regarded as intruders. Being imprisoned is a light punishment. You might even be executed on the spot. Another disciple sneered. That's right. 20 million taels of silver each. Wang Yuan's and Wang Lai's faces suddenly darkened when they heard this. They did not expect the two guarding disciples to be so arrogant and ask for such a huge sum right off the bat. You two better not go overboard, Wang Lai said in a low voice. Wang Yuan's face was also cold. He could not help but press his hand on his saber and said coldly, "Do you really think that the marshal's residence is easy to bully? TSK, we don't care how high the marshal's residence's status is in the Shenwu Empire. However, don't forget that this is the Shenwu Academy, not your marshal's residence." The guarding disciple sneered. I gave you some face, but you didn't want it. Wang Kai sneered. Whoosh. Young master, the two guards' faces changed when they heard this. They knew that their young master was really angry. However, this was the Shenwu Academy after all. If a fight really broke out, even the marshal's residence would not be able to handle it. However, when they turned around, Wang Kai was nowhere to be seen. Pa, pa, pa. Air step. Hearing a light shout, Wang Yuan, Wang Lai, and the two guards suddenly raised their heads and discovered that Wang Kai was in the air. His feet were constantly stepping in the air, and every time he stepped, a ripple would explode in the air. Under this cycle, he was actually able to remain suspended in the air. He can actually step in mid-air. The disciples' faces changed and they were shocked. 10 dragon-subduing slaps. Wang Kai shouted coldly as he covered his palms with his battle chi. The cyan battle chi looked pretty dazzling in the night sky. Young master, you can't. Wang Yuan and Wang Lai both shouted. Whoosh. However, Wang Kai didn't care about them at all. His 2 palms slammed down from the sky, and a total of 10 green palm prints fell from the sky, aiming directly at the 2 guarding disciples. This is the realm of martial general. Sensing the terrifying and breathless battle chi, the 2 mountain guards were dumbfounded. They even forgot to resist or dodge the cyan palm print. They could only watch the cyan palm print enlarging in their eyes and finally patting their chests. Rumble! In an instant, the mountain gate's rubble was sent flying. Smoke and dust billowed in all directions. The 2 disciples who were guarding the mountain were forcefully sent flying. The terrifying force did not reduce in the slightest. It directly pushed their bodies up the stone steps like a stream of light. Bang! Bang! After flying for a distance of 30 to 40 meters, the 2 mountain guards' bodies fell onto the stone step. The clothes on their chests and backs had been torn apart by the force, and a scarlet 5-fingered palm print could be seen on their flesh. Damn it! You even want to rob Bencheo's money? Why don't you take a piss and take a look at yourself? Wang Kai spat in disdain as he slowly descended from the sky. Looking at the 2 mountain guards, their bodies were twitching on the stone step. Their hair was disheveled and their clothes were torn. Blood flowed uncontrollably from their mouth. Young master, how can you be so impulsive? Wang Yuan said worriedly. Wang Kai shrugged and said carelessly, What's there to be afraid of? They're just mountain guards and have just entered the martial master realm. They probably don't have any status in the Shenwu Academy. Otherwise, why would they be assigned to guard the gate? The root of the matter is not here. Even if they're just ordinary disciples, they're guarding the gate of the Shenwu Academy. They represent the reputation of the academy. Wang Lai shook his head and sighed. If it wasn't for the Shenwu Academy, Wang Yuan and Wang Lai could have easily defeated or killed these 2 martial masters by themselves. So what? They were the ones who wanted to extort 40 million taels of silver from me. I'm just representing the Shenwu Academy to teach them a lesson. Moreover, if it's really like what they said, that they can't enter the mountain gate at this time, do you think that they, as mere martial masters, would dare to ask me for silver? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and leisurely stepped onto the stone steps with his hands behind his back. When the 2 guards heard this, they were stunned for a long time. Then, they came to a sudden realization. They couldn't help but look at each other. Both of them were a little shocked by their young master's actions. It turned out that their young master didn't intend to use silver notes to bribe them. If they really couldn't enter the Shenwu Academy, the 2 mountain guards would not dare to let them in no matter how much silver was offered. However, when Wang Kai proposed to bribe them with silver, the 2 mountain guards were tempted and even took the initiative to lead the way. What did this prove? The 2 guarding disciples just wanted to take the opportunity to extort a sum of money. Stop pretending to be dead. Get up and lead the way for Benchao. Wang Kai walked in front of one of the mountain guards and mercilessly kicked him a few times. He had only used 20% of his strength, and it was not enough to take their lives. If he had used the tumbling cloud palm, the result would have been different. Although the 10 dragon-subduing palms could only be used 10 times at a time, he could still control his strength. However, the strength of the tumbling cloud palm could not be controlled. When used, it was a 3-part attack. The 3 parts could not be separated and each part was fatal. For these 2 mountain guards who had just entered the martial master realm, the tumbling cloud palm would definitely take their lives. Cough cough. You dare to. Hearing this, Wang Kai frowned and lowered his head to look down at him. He calmly interrupted. If you don't want the elders of the Shenwu Academy to know that you're trying to extort money from me, then quickly get up and lead the way. You? What? The mountain guard spat out a mouthful of blood. He stared at Wang Kai with bloodshot eyes and felt extremely suffocated. What about me? Next time, be more careful. Do you think you can extort money from just anyone? Wang Kai snorted with disdain. The mountain guard's face was ashen as he struggled to get up. He vaguely remembered that during the day, Lu Yao and the others from the royal city had given him a lot of money. Even the crown prince of the sky-suppressing king had done the same. However, he did not expect that Wang Kai from the marshal's residence would be so daring. Not only did he not give him money, he even dared to hit him. However, he could not do anything to him. Little did he know that Wang Kai was different from the other young masters in the royal city. If he had asked around, tonight's incident would not have happened. He loved money as much as his life and bragged in the royal city. Chapter 21. Shenwu Academy Spiritual Pivot Courtyard. Those who came from King City are temporarily staying in the Spiritual Pivot Courtyard. When we see Elder Ling Shu, the disciple on guard hesitated. Wang Kai couldn't help but laugh. He patted the disciple on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Ben Shao has always been open-minded and doesn't care about small things. I won't tell anyone that you tried to extort money from me." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. The guard disciple's mouth twitched fiercely when he heard this, his face almost turning green as he pointed to the scarlet handprint on his chest and said, "Young Master Kai, I'm not talking about this matter, but, oh, you and I met at the mountain gate. Our interests were piqued and we exchanged martial skills. It's Benshao's fault for being too strong and accidentally injuring you. I hope senior brother won't hold a grudge," Wang Kai said with a smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Who shares your interests? Who wants to exchange martial skills with you? The guarding disciple was suddenly speechless, feeling the heaviness in his chest getting more and more serious. He really didn't want to talk to Wang Kai anymore, so he said in an extremely aggrieved tone, "Since young Master Kai already has the wording, I can rest assured." Wang Kai was stunned. Seeing that the disciple was about to step into the spiritual pivot courtyard, he grabbed him by the shoulder and said, "You're relieved? You don't want to say anything else? What else do you want me to say? Young Master Kai, please forgive me. I haven't recovered from my injuries yet. Let me bring you to the spiritual pivot courtyard as soon as possible so that I can go back and heal." The disciple wanted to cry but had no tears. Wang Kai's face stiffened. He smacked his lips and awkwardly let go of him. He wanted to take the opportunity to brag a few more times, but who would have thought that he would only brag twice before the other party was unwilling to talk? How will young master survive in the Shenwu Academy in the future? Wang Yuan and Wang Lai looked at each other and couldn't help but worry for the Shenwu Academy. The spiritual pivot courtyard was located halfway up the Martial God Mountain and was mostly used as a place to entertain guests. There were dozens of big and small houses in the courtyard, and the owner of the courtyard, Elder Ling Shu, lived in the most important house. Elder Ling Shu, young Master Wang Kai from the Marshal's residence in King City, and 2 of his family guards have arrived, the disciple on guard said softly. Patter. The candlelight in the room lit up. An old man in a gray robe pushed open the door and walked out, holding a candle in his hand. He glanced at Wang Kai and the others indifferently and fixed his gaze on the chest of the guarding disciple. Looking at the blood-red palm print, he frowned slightly and said coldly, "Who injured you?" The guarding disciple trembled and lowered his head without saying a word. He was extremely afraid. Although he was only an ordinary disciple of the Shunwu Academy, once the task of guarding the mountain began, being injured would be a disgrace to the Shunwu Academy. Elder Lingshu, just now at the mountain gate, I got along well with this senior brother and felt regretful that we didn't meet earlier. Therefore we exchanged a few moves. However, I am not proficient enough and couldn't control my strength well, so I hope Elder won't blame me, Wang Kai said solemnly as he took a step forward and bowed with his fists clasped. Hearing this, the guarding disciple was surprised. He thought that Wang Kai would say what he had said, but who would have thought that he would say it so politely and modestly? He couldn't help but feel strange. What kind of person was this? Haha, not bad. You know that you are not proficient enough, so you came to the Shunwu Academy to cultivate. I hope you can pass the ceremony smoothly and grow under the influence of the Academy's exquisite martial arts, Elder Lingshu said with a faint smile. There was a hint of arrogance in his expression. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and felt a chill in his heart. However, his face was full of admiration. He clasped his fists and smiled. Thank you for your kind words, Elder. If I can become a disciple of the Shunwu Academy, I am willing to be your disciple. Haha, little kid, not bad. I will go and take a look at the ceremony. Come with me, Elder Lingshu said with a smile. After Wang Kai and the others left with Elder Lingshu, the guarding disciple's face kept twitching. He looked at Wang Kai's back and shook his head. He sighed and said, "This guy can't be provoked. He is too damn dangerous." Elder Lingshu, which room will we be staying in? Wang Kai asked with a smile. The houses were all tightly packed together, forming a huge rectangle. There were dozens of them. Haha, you can choose any of these rooms. As for whether you can stay in them, it will depend on your ability. Elder Lingshu stopped and stood in the center of the courtyard with his hands behind his back and a playful smile on his face. Choose any of them? Depend on their ability? Wang Kai was startled when he heard this. He asked with some confusion, "What does Elder Lingshu mean?" Haha, there are 55 rooms in the spiritual pivot courtyard. Today there are 27 young people from King City. Each of them brought 2 guards with them. Since you are the last to arrive, the rooms are all full, Elder Lingshu said with a faint smile. Does that mean he wants to rob them? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and immediately understood the meaning of Elder Lingshu's words. He could not help but secretly curse in his heart. Damn it, I just flattered you a little. Now you want me to snatch the room? Young master, should we rob them? Wang Yuan asked in a low voice. Do we need to rob them? As long as Benshao orders, they won't dare to refuse to give up their rooms. Wang Kai snorted with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Elder Lingshu suddenly became interested and looked at Wang Kai curiously. He couldn't help but smile in surprise. It seems that you have quite a reputation in King City. Of course. In King City, you can choose not to know who Wang Shang is, but you must know who Benshao is. Wang Kai snorted proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Upon hearing this, Elder Lingshu's eyelids twitched violently. She furrowed her brows and thought to herself, could it be that the marshal's mansion has become so powerful? If Wang Yuan and Wang Lai knew what he was thinking, they would immediately explain that it wasn't that the marshal's residence was so powerful that they could ignore the king, but that their young master was too good at bragging. Hey! Everyone inside, listen up. You have been surrounded. Benshao will give you 3 breaths of time. If you obediently give up your rooms, you will be punished lightly. If you dare to resist, I will give you a good beating. Wang Kai suddenly shouted. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Ah, young Master Kai. Is that you? Damn it. Didn't he say he wasn't coming? Why is he here at this hour? In an instant all the rooms were lit by candles. From the reflections, it could be seen that the people inside were hurriedly putting on their clothes. Chapter 22. Bang! The door of a room was suddenly opened. Fatty Lou's belly was exposed. His clothes were untidy. He opened his eyes wide and looked around. When he saw that the person standing in the courtyard was indeed Wang Kai, his complexion changed, and he ran over. Stop. If you have something to say, just say it over there. You don't have to come so close. Wang Kai's face darkened and he quickly raised his hand to stop Fatty Lou. He was afraid that Fatty Lou would pounce on him like he did before. However, Fatso Lou acted as if he did not hear anything and sped up even more. Just as Wang Kai could not help but raise his leg to kick him away, Fatso Lou actually stopped and walked up to Wang Kai with a serious expression. He said in a low voice, "Young Master Kai, you'd better leave the Shenwu Academy as soon as possible. If you snatch a room and successfully get registered by Elder Ling Shu, you'll be finished." Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at Fatty Lou in surprise. He finally understood what Fatty Lou was thinking and could not help but pat Fatty Lou's shoulder. He smiled faintly and said, "So you're afraid that I'll snatch your room? Don't worry, with our relationship, I can snatch anyone's room but not yours." "No. Young Master Kai, I'm not talking about the room. If a room can solve this problem, I'll give it to you." Lulu shook his head and said with an ugly expression, "If he was not afraid of snatching the room, then what was it?" Wang Kai looked at him strangely. In his memory, there had never been a matter that could make this fatty so serious. He couldn't help but frown and said, "Don't hesitate over there. What is it? Hurry up and say it." "Crown Prince Wanzhe. He has been valued by an elder of the Shenwu Academy," Lulu said through gritted teeth. Clatter! Clatter! At this moment, many of the young masters and young ladies of the royal city walked out of their rooms. They all had mocking smiles on their faces as they looked at Wang Kai with indescribable amusement. Lulu is right. Not only did Crown Prince Wan gain the favor of the elders, he was even brought to the Elders' Hall to teach him an ancestor-level cultivation technique. I advise you to return to the royal city. You can still be a braggart there. Otherwise, you will be severely humiliated tomorrow." Su-Ru covered her face and laughed. When Wang Kai heard this, he suddenly understood. He couldn't help but curl his lips and snorted indifferently. "I thought it was something big. Isn't it just being valued by the elders? Even if the palace master of the Shenwu Academy valued him, he would still be beaten up at tomorrow's ceremony, let alone the elders. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point." When everyone heard this, they were collectively speechless. Even though they knew Wang Kai's bragging skills, they didn't think that he would still dare to brag at this critical moment. "Wang Kai, no matter how much you brag in the royal city, perhaps no one can do anything to you because of the marshal's residence. But in the Shenwu Academy, I'm afraid you will be disappointed." Li Qingfeng sneered. Clap, clap, clap. Wang Kai raised his hands and clapped. He narrowed his eyes and stared at him. He sneered, "Oh my, isn't this the young master of the Li family, Li Qingfeng? When you were in the royal city, Ben Shao didn't see you being so arrogant. How come your arms are so strong now that you're in the Shenwu Academy?" "Shut up. In the royal city, if it weren't for the marshal's residence's protection, Ben Shao would have beaten you to a pulp," Li Qingfeng said angrily. Clap. Wang Kai suddenly clapped his hands and looked at him with an amused expression. He opened his mouth and praised, "Good." As expected of the young master of the Li family, one of the 4 great aristocratic families. "You really have guts. Didn't you think that you could strut around in the Shenwu Academy? Ben Shao is standing right here. Do you dare to touch me? Whoosh. When these words were spoken, everyone's breathing stopped and they couldn't help but look at Li Qingfeng. Although he said that the #1 braggart in the royal city was now a martial artist. Moreover, his martial arts level was terrifyingly high. Even Su Kuan was no match for him, not to mention everyone present who was at the same level as Su Kuan. Li Qingfeng's face was flushed red and his eyes were wide open with shame and anger. His body trembled and his fists were clenched so tightly that they made cracking sounds. However, in the end, he didn't dare to take a step forward. He could only stand where he was, panting heavily. He didn't even dare to speak. Damn it! Why don't you look at your cowardly face? Everyone here, listen up. Whether it's in the royal city or in the Shenwu Academy, Ben Shao can cover the sky with one hand. Now do you understand how to talk to Ben Shao? Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. When everyone heard this, they looked at each other speechlessly. They had thought that by coming to the Shenwu Academy, they would be able to break away from the royal city, which was even more powerful than their aristocratic families. However, in reality, that was not the case. Only when Wang Kai poured a bucket of cold water on them did they wake up. To forge iron, one must be strong. If one's skills were not as good as others, they could only bow their heads no matter where they were. Young Master Kai, although your bragging is very loud, now is not the time to brag. That Wanja has already been taught a Grandmaster-level technique by the elders. I heard that he has already broken through to the Marshal General level. When the apprentice ceremony starts tomorrow, how can young Master Kai defeat him? Lulu shook his head and sighed. One of the 4 aristocratic families, the Su family's young Master Su Yi, also agreed. Brother Lu is right. If young Master Kai insists on attending the apprentice ceremony tomorrow, it means that he will definitely fight with Wanzhi. When that time comes, it will be the Marshal's residence and the Imperial Tutor's residence who will win. Hee, young Lord Kai, I have no ill intentions towards you. What I said just now was for your own good. Everyone knows that young Lord Wan has been in love with young Lady Lu for a long time. Moreover, both of them are highly valued by the elders of Shenwu Academy. They are truly a perfect match. If you leave Shenwu Academy now, even if the marriage contract is broken, you can still avoid being humiliated. Young Lord Kai, don't you agree with what I said? Su Ru said with a mocking smile. I don't agree with you. Wang Kai's face darkened as he snorted. His feet tapped on the ground and his body suddenly moved. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived in front of her. Raising his hand under her terrified gaze, he directly lifted her chin. Su Ru's beautiful eyes widened. She thought that Wang Kai would make a move on her, but she didn't expect such a frivolous move. Her pretty face immediately turned red and she smiled sweetly. If young Master Kai is interested in me, the Su family won't mind a marriage alliance with the Marshal's residence. Hee, with a trash like you, you dare to think that Ben Shao will take a fancy to you? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Take a good look at yourself. Wang Kai sneered as he raised his other hand and directly slapped her cheek. Bah! The crisp sound caused everyone's heart to tremble. No one thought that Wang Kai would really make a move. Chapter 23. My lady. The 2 Su family guards' expressions changed. They drew their long swords and quickly stepped forward, shielding Su Ru behind them as they stared at Wang Kai cautiously. Su Ru covered her face, her eyes filled with murderous intent. Her body trembled uncontrollably due to her intense anger. She screamed in a nearly insane voice, "Kill him! Kill him!" My lady. The 2 guards' expressions were ugly. They gritted their teeth and did not say a word. Even though they had long swords in their hands, they did not dare to make a move against Wang Kai. The Marshal's residence's status was there for all to see. Even the four great families could not be compared to the marshal's residence. What's more, the two guards standing behind Wang Kai were much stronger than them in terms of martial arts. If they were to really fight, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. At that time, their young miss would likely be humiliated again. Slap. Slap. Trash. You're all useless trash. Su Ru became even more enraged. She viciously slapped the two guards before turning to stare coldly at Wang Kai. Her expression was filled with resentment as she sneered. You'll regret this. I'm looking forward to the scene of you being humiliated by Wan Shixi tomorrow. Bang. Immediately after, Su Ru turned and rushed into the room, slamming the door shut. A series of crackling sounds came from inside. It was clear to see how angry she was at this moment and how much hatred she had for Wang Kai. Young master, should we just snatch her room? Wang Yuan coldly asked as he stared coldly at the two Su family guards in front of the door. Even though they did not dare to make a move earlier, they could not tolerate the fact that their young master had used weapons against him. Clang! Once these words were spoken, the two Su family guards immediately tensed up. They placed their long swords together in front of the door and coldly said, "Even if our cultivation is lower than yours, we will not allow you to take a single step into this room." Humph! Do you really think that the marshal's residence is just for decoration? Even if we kill you, would the Su family dare to go to the marshal's residence to denounce us? Wang Lai glared angrily as he rebuked. All right. Since they were so loyal to protect you, let's forget about this matter for now, Wang Kai said calmly. It had to be said that Wang Kai greatly admired the loyalty of the two guards of the Su family. The fact that they could restrain themselves from attacking him was not just because of their own safety, but also because of the reputation of the Su family and Su Ru's safety. If they really dared to make a move against him, the consequences would not be as simple as Su Ru receiving a slap from him. Young Lord Kai, have you really decided to participate in tomorrow's ceremony? Lulu asked worriedly. Seeing this, Wang Kai could not help but feel a little surprised. He had never thought that Ben Shao would be so considerate of him. He immediately patted him on the shoulder and suddenly waved his arm with a heroic smile. Don't worry, not to mention the martial general realm, even if it's the stronger martial ancestor realm, Ben Shao will not hesitate to beat him up tomorrow. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Hearing this, Lu Li's mouth twitched fiercely. His large face shook as he rubbed his hands together and smiled flatteringly. Then young Lord Kai should return the black dragon dagger to me first. If you really lose tomorrow, then the black dragon dagger won't be taken away as a trophy. CK your grandfather. Wang Kai's face instantly darkened. His forehead was full of black lines as he stared at Lulu. He had never thought that this guy would be worried about the black dragon dagger. He had almost revealed his true feelings just now. Young Lord Kai, it's not that I don't want to lend it to you, but the Shenwu Academy's disciple ceremony has a clear rule. The winner has the right to take away the winner's item. Lulu pouted as he spoke, feeling wronged. There was such a rule? Hearing this, Wang Kai's face darkened. He suddenly took out the black dragon dagger from his bosom and waved it in front of Lu Li's face. Under Lu Li's extremely happy gaze, he curled his lips and coldly snorted. Do you want it? It's very simple, give me the 10 million silver notes we agreed on earlier. Young Lord Kai. I really don't have. Wait, young Lord Kai, what are you doing in my room? In the end, no matter what Fatty Lu said, he was unable to get the black dragon dagger back. Instead, he had even lost his room. Damn it. Li Chengfeng, get out here. Fatty Lu's face darkened, his eyes flashing fiercely. Although he couldn't defeat Wang Kai, it didn't mean that he couldn't defeat others. He immediately rushed into Li Chengfeng's room with a belly full of anger. The result was obvious. Not only was Li Chengfeng severely beaten up, his room was also taken over by Fatty Lu. He could only drag his bruised and battered body to his own guard's room. Shenwu Academy Battle Arena. When Wang Kai and the rest arrived under the lead of Elder Ling Shu, the large circular battle arena was already packed with people. This time, not only were the young masters and young mistresses from the royal city participating in the ceremony, the ordinary disciples of the Shenwu Academy would also participate in the battles. There were 3 types of disciples who practiced martial arts in the Shenwu Academy. The first type were the ordinary disciples, who were generally in the martial master realm. Above them were the core disciples, who were all in the martial general realm. Above them were the direct disciples, who were of the highest rank. The core disciples and direct disciples would not participate in the ceremony. Only the ordinary disciples would participate. If they could obtain a good ranking, they would be promoted to a core disciple. Only by becoming a core disciple would they be able to obtain half of the Grandmaster level martial arts from the Shenwu Academy. This would allow them to break through the martial master realm and reach the martial general realm. From there, they could begin their cultivation in the later stages of the martial general realm. "Young master, young mistress is here," Wang Yuan said in a low voice. Upon hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and could not help but turn his head. When he saw Lu Yao and Wan Zhe walking together, his face darkened. He stood up abruptly and scolded loudly, "Damn it, Wan Zhe, you little bastard, stay away from my fiancée!" Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, all the disciples of the Shenwu Academy who had come to watch were stunned. They all looked at Wang Kai with strange expressions. Who is this kid? How dare he insult Elder Beitong's disciple? His fiancée is she Lu Yao, who is highly regarded by Elder Murong. Seems like it. This is going to be a good show. I heard that when the 2 of them arrived at the Shenwu Academy yesterday, they were already highly regarded by the 2 elders of the Hall of Elders. They even made an exception and passed on Grandmaster-level martial arts to them. On the spectator stands, many of the Shenwu Academy disciples began to discuss in low voices. The news that Wan Zhe and Lu Yao were highly regarded by the elders had spread throughout the entire Shenwu Academy yesterday. After all, it was rare for someone to be highly regarded by the elders before the disciple recruitment ceremony. Upon hearing Wang Kai's scolding, Lu Yao frowned slightly and glanced at him coldly. She then walked up to the spectator stands. "Haha, I didn't think that the number 1 braggart in the royal city would actually dare to come. Fine, I just broke through to the martial general realm yesterday. It's a good opportunity to play with you. I hope you won't lose and kneel down and beg for mercy." Wan Zhe had a playful smile on his face as he glanced at him. Then, he walked up to the spectator's stand and sat beside Lu Yao. Lu Yao's face was calm and did not show any signs of abnormality. Chapter 24. Don't use your bragging ability in front of this young master. Are you on the same level as me? Wang Kai said with a disdainful look. When Wan Zhe heard this, he sneered in disdain and said indifferently, "Whether I'm bragging or not, when you successfully pass the ceremony and become a disciple of Shenwu Academy, I will let you know the difference between you and me. Why do you have to wait until the ceremony is over? Get your ass down here and fight me now. I want to see if the martial general realm that you're so proud of is as awesome as you claim," Wang Kai said coldly. However, Wan Zhe did not reply. His expression was filled with disdain as he swept a glance at Wan Zhe. Then, he looked towards Lu Yao and softly said, "Junior sister Lu, Teacher Beitang has already said that he will request the palace master to cancel the engagement between the imperial advisor's residence and the marshal's residence tomorrow. At that time, Teacher will also host the wedding for us." With these words, Wang Kai's eyes immediately narrowed. A cold light flickered in his eyes as he stared at Lu Yao. He really wanted to know how she would respond. If she nodded, he would not have to be calculative with her. From then on, they would be in two different worlds. Everyone held their breaths as they looked at her strangely. If she agreed to Wanja's request, it would mean that Wang Kai was nothing more than a joke, and the marshal's residence's reputation would be completely tarnished. Lu Yao's expression was cold as she frowned. She did not reply to him. Instead, she looked at Wang Kai and said indifferently, "Although I do not recognize the marriage between the Imperial Advisor's residence and the Marshal's residence, I will not allow outsiders to interfere. If you really do not want the Marshal's residence to lose face, then complete the arranged battle with Crown Prince Wan during the disciple recruitment ceremony." Haha, I didn't expect this girl to be so tactful. Wang Kaisen smiled proudly, then sat down casually, crossed his legs and said calmly, "Wang Shiba, do you understand now? Outsiders cannot interfere with the matters between the Imperial Advisor's residence and the Marshal's residence." Wanja's eyes were cold and gloomy. He hadn't expected Lu Yao to reject him in such a way. This was a huge blow to his heart, and his hostility towards Wang Kai became even more intense. He sneered with an ugly expression, "Fine, since you're so eager to be humiliated, let's fulfill our previous agreement." Whoosh! Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and suddenly stood up. He stretched out his finger and flicked his clothes. Then, he leisurely walked towards the arena and said with a faint smile, "I couldn't ask for more. What realm is he at? He actually dares to challenge Wanja? Could it be that he is also a martial general? Otherwise, why would he be so bold?" Many of the ordinary disciples of the Xunwu Academy had strange expressions on their faces. They were filled with excitement. To be able to see a martial general in action during a disciple recruitment ceremony was something that had never happened before. He must be bragging again. Everyone in King City knew Wang Kai's habit of bragging. Although the disciples of the Xunwu Academy didn't know his true nature, it didn't mean that they didn't know. Haha, I'm afraid this will be the last time he brags. I'm looking forward to the scene of him being humiliated by Crown Prince Wan. Su Ru laughed eerily. Her eyes were filled with hatred as she stared at Wang Kai. Whenever she thought of him being beaten to the point of kneeling and begging for mercy by Wanzhe, she would feel exceptionally happy. Fatso Lu's face was filled with bitterness. He couldn't help but pray in his heart, "Young Master Kai, please don't be bragging. Even if you are, please don't take out the Black Dragon Blade to duel with him. How dare you? Do you think the Xunwu Academy is something that a second generation from King City like you can control?" Suddenly, a thunderous roar resounded in the arena. When the disciples of the Xunwu Academy heard this voice, their expressions changed drastically. They all looked up respectfully at the sky. High up in the sky, 5 figures suddenly appeared. 4 men and 1 woman, all of them middle-aged. They stood in the air with their hands behind their backs and looked down coldly. The one who spoke was the middle-aged man who led the group. "Master Beitang, Uncle Masters." Wanja's face lit up and he immediately bowed respectfully. "Elder Beitang, Elder Murong, Elder Dongfang, Elder Nangong, Elder Shimen." Many of the ordinary disciples of the Xunwu Academy immediately stood up and greeted them. The young masters and ladies from King City didn't dare to be negligent. They knew that these 5 people were elders of the Xunwu Academy, so they immediately stood up and bowed respectfully. F***CK. I didn't expect the elders of the Xunwu Academy to be so pretentious. Isn't it just showing off? Do you have to show off your martial ancestor realm air-stepping ability? Wang Kai muttered disdainfully. He despised them in his heart. Swoosh. Although it was Wang Kai muttering softly, in this martial arts arena that was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard, it was still clearly heard by everyone. Immediately, it caused everyone's faces to twitch violently, and they were collectively petrified on the spot. The 5 elders' faces darkened as they stared at Wang Kai furiously. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Although they had heard of the marshal's residence's young master Wang Kai, they didn't expect him to be so bold. It's over, it's over. Young Master Kai, you're not just bragging, you're showing off. It's really over now. My black dragon blade. Fatso Lu cried out in grief and indignation. Swoosh. However, when everyone thought that the 5 elders were going to punish Wang Kai in anger, they saw Wang Kai take the initiative to speak. So it's the 5 elders who have graced us with your presence. I, Wang Kai, have heard from my father that those who can become elders of the Shenwu Academy are all powerful and broad-minded people. Today, I am fortunate enough to be able to meet the 5 elders. It is truly a blessing that I have accumulated over several lifetimes. Wang Kai cupped his fists and said respectfully. The 5 elders held their breaths when they heard this. They originally wanted to reprimand Wang Kai, but they were directly choked back. Especially when they saw Wang Kai's sincere expression, they couldn't help but feel suffocated. If they punished him again, wouldn't it prove that they were narrow-minded? More importantly, the 5 elders were too embarrassed to reprimand him for what he had muttered before. Wanzha's expression suddenly changed. He quickly cupped his fists and asked, Master Beitang, although I am now a core disciple of the Shenwu Academy, and according to the Academy's rules, I am not allowed to participate in the disciple recruitment ceremony. However, Wang Kai and I had a duel in the Imperial Advisor's residence because of the marriage between junior sister Lu and the Marshal's residence. I hope that Master will allow me to fight with him. I've long heard that the young master of the Marshal's residence was ignorant and incompetent since young. He even had a marriage agreement with the Imperial Advisor's residence. Since Lu Yao has become a disciple of the Shenwu Academy, she naturally can't marry a despicable person like you. When you go back, tell your grandfather, Marshal Wang, that the marriage agreement between the Imperial Advisor's residence and the Marshal's residence is cancelled. Elder Baiming snorted coldly. Hearing this, Wanzha's expression became even more joyful. He had brought up this matter at this juncture because he wanted to take advantage of the elders' anger to get the Shenwu Academy to interfere with the marriage agreement between the Imperial Advisor's residence and the Marshal's residence. Now that he had achieved his goal, his heart was filled with joy. Elder Beitang, Wanzha and I have a duel before. If I lose to Wanzha, the Marshal's mansion won't mention the matter of the marriage anymore. But if I win against Wanzha, then I'll be the one who wins. Unless the Marshal's residence is destroyed, no one can interfere with the marriage agreement. Wang Kai sneered coldly. Everyone looked at Wang Kai again. Where was the respect from before? It was as if he wasn't afraid of anything in the world. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.